Good evening. I call to order the Lake Havasu City Council regular meeting on Tuesday, September 13th, 2022 at 6 p.m. We'll now have an invocation from Chaplain B. Evans from KNLB Christian Radio, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Paulette Nadeau from the Elks Lodge 2399.
Good evening, everybody. May I take a minute to congratulate our new old seated members. We, the people, have spoken, and obviously they liked what you've done in the past, and they want to watch what you're going to do in the future. Congratulations. Let's pray. Father God, we just love you so much, and we thank you, Lord, that all these decisions aren't only in our hands, that when we ask for wisdom, you are so gracious to give it, and this council knows that. So we just thank you, Father, for them tonight. We just ask that their yes be yes and their no be no, that they know that you're behind their answers. And we just thank you, Father. They know that you love the people of Lake Havasu City, and I know they do too. Father, I just lift our United States of America before you tonight. How can we not ask you to continue to keep your hand on us? Father, we just know what would happen if you lifted that hand from us. We would be a puff of smoke, and we know it. So we just thank you, Lord, for all that you do, all that you're going to do tonight. And we give you all the praise and all the glory in the mighty name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Please remove covers and recite with me the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Shee and council members, for this opportunity this evening to speak to the masses. I am Paulette Nadeau, Exalted Ruler of Lake Havasu City Elks Lodge number 2399. The Benevolent and Protective Order of Elks was established in 1868 for the purpose of practicing four cardinal principles of the order: charity, justice, brotherly love, and fidelity. With me this evening is Pauline Thenard, my chaplain, Jackie Turcott, my esquire, and also the lodge photographer, and my brother-in-law, Hank Thenard, who's a past Exalted Ruler, past Deputy District Grand Exalted Ruler, and currently our West District leader. So we have a history, a family history in the Elks. The charitable or benevolent side of the lodge, we are committed to support our veterans. We hold a Flag Day ceremony, which is open to the public. At Christmas time, we send gifts to the Prescott VA hospital for the patients. We participate in parades in our community. We say thank you for your service. As long as there are veterans, the Order of Elks will help. We also are a major supporter of the Steele Children's Hospital and Research Center and the Jack C. Warder Youth Camp, free to all youth in Arizona. We are also committed to the youth and drug awareness programs here at home. We host a family swim day during Youth Week and at the Stickum event. Grant funds are utilized to host Teen Break and an additional swim day in February to express our love of this entire community. Several of our members have been certified by the city to assist in after-school programs, such as soccer shoot and hoop shoot. I'm one of those. At Christmas time, we are very busy at the lodge. Our auxiliary, the Elkettes, sponsor Kids Turn to Shop at the lodge, where children can shop for gifts for their family. We receive a grant each year to sponsor a Giving Tree program, which allows us to clothe approximately 90 children. And finally, our Christmas basket program, which provides food for the families, the needy families, and Christmas gifts for the children in the household, all delivered by Elks to homes in our community. Our lodge features numerous activities: card playing, shuffleboard, a book exchange library, and so on. It's just a busy place with a bar 7 days a week, restaurant 6 days a week serve food, entertainment on Fridays and Saturdays and Wednesdays in the fall and winter. We also have an RV park with 25 full hookups and several dry sites. We are a members-only lodge. In order to become a member, you must be an American citizen who believes in God. Our lodge currently has a little over 4,000 members, with 67 awaiting initiation this month. If you would like to be part of the Great Order of Elks, stop by the lodge on McCulloch Boulevard, and we'll be happy to give you an application. And in closing, remember, Elks care, Elks share. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you for being here and for all the great work you do in our community.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, the next item on our agenda is our roll call. Ms. Williams, if you please call the roll.
Council members Nancy Campbell.
Here.
Jenny Koch.
Here.
David Lane.
Here.
Michelle Lynn.
Here.
Cameron Moses.
Here.
Vice Mayor Jim Dolan.
Here.
Mayor Kal Sheehy.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 5 on the agenda is our call to the public. This is where citizens have an opportunity to address the city council within items within the jurisdiction of Lake Havasu City. You would have 3 minutes to make your remarks to the council. There is a light indicator box next to Ms. Williams. Green means you have 3 minutes. Yellow means you have 1 minute remaining. And red means that the 3 minutes is up. If you are here for one of the public hearings, we do encourage you to wait until that time so that we can have a two-way conversation, because during call to the public, since it's not on the agenda, we can just listen intently to whatever your comments may be. You don't have to sign up necessarily to speak at call to the public, but we did have several citizens do so. So we'll start with those citizens and then we'll open up to anyone else. So the first person that signed up for call to the public is Karen Vanderjack.
Good evening, Karen Vanderjack, 45-year taxpayer in Lake Havasu. I just wanted to take this opportunity during call to the public to acknowledge and thank a few city council members and clarify some misunderstandings. Thank you, Councilman Lynn, for suggesting Agenda 8.3 and Councilwoman Campbell for seconding it, so it would go onto the agenda. We need a discussion of accountability for Go Lake Havasu. Now, I also wanted to commend Vice Mayor Dolan, Councilman Lane, and Councilman Moses. These men stood firm on not wanting to go ahead with a 3-year contract to the city with Go Lake Havasu. They wanted more accountability. Good job, gentlemen. However, they lost the vote, so now we're dealing with this 3-year contract and $1.3 million of our bed tax and our restaurant tax that belongs to the city going to an out-of-control advertising entity. One other preliminary item I'd like to address is the law, namely Title 13 Criminal Code 13-1402, which I passed out to the council at the last meeting. Mayor Sheehy had gone on KNTR, and he said he was not concerned because it only deals with indecent exposure, and so it shouldn't be a concern for the drag show. So he stated that on the radio. So for the record, that statement is disingenuous. And under the A part of that, it states the defendant is reckless about whether the other person would be offended or alarmed by the act. And twice in part C and D of the law, it mentions minors. It says, quote, indecent exposure to a person under 15 years of age is a class 6 felony, unquote. And D, a quote, involving indecent exposure or public sexual indecency to a minor who under the age of 15 is guilty of a class 3 felony. So I'm asking Mayor Sheehy to just backtrack his statement that this is not, it does mention these minors. And I just wanted him to make sure that, he's aware of that. I will put my statements forward on Go Lake Havasu issues on 8.3, but I'd like to just mention something a man said in my church. He said this drag show is not only sexually explicit, which should bar children from attending, but it is prejudice against women, depicting them with a clown, makeup, and clothing depicting a prostitute on the street corner. I'm insulted, and little girls who attend this event are being exposed to this as normal and okay to insult womanhood. Many towns throughout the U.S. are stopping these shows. We have only asked that you stop supporting this show with advertising and perhaps a statement going on the record that you would make this an adult-only event for the safety of the children. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Cindy Johnson.
Good evening, Cindy Johnson, resident of Havasu City. I'd like to clarify any misunderstanding in regards to the rallies about the drag queen shows. They are not, nor have they ever been, any hatred towards our gay community. It is not about that. It is not about being gay. It is not about being transgender. It is about the kids. Have the show, don't include the kids. It's not uncommon to have an age-restricted event. I see all the time, buy your tickets, must be 21 years and older. It's not the government telling parents what they can and cannot do with their kids. Have the show, don't include the kids. Last month in Dallas, Texas, at a family-friendly, all ages welcome drag queen show, a drag queen paraded a little boy from the audience in front of a pink neon sign that said it's not gonna lick itself. Maybe that was the comedy part of the show. I heard these are supposed to be comedy. But if you saw the report after the show, it wasn't so family friendly there. So I'm asking you, have the show. Don't include the kids. You're our city council. You are our mayor and the manager of the venue. If anyone could make this an age-restricted event, it's you. Have the show. Don't include the kids. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Dale Ray. Dale Ray.
My name is Dale Ray. Mr. Mayor, council, and city leaders, I thank you for all that you have done for the citizens of Lake Havasu and for our children. I am greatly concerned about a scheduled drag queen event. I'm a local pastor for 42 of my 50 years in Lake Havasu City, and I've been with the Lake Havasu City Police Department as head volunteer chaplain for 38 years. I have the same amount of time with the Mojave County Sheriff's Department. I've heard confessions of men in jail who have abused their children and grandchildren. One said he had no idea it was wrong to sexually abuse his granddaughter. He had done the same to her mother and never gotten in trouble. Abuse of children is reprehensible. As a pastor, I'm obligated to watch over the children in my care and report any abuse to the authorities. Pastors have gotten into a great deal of trouble in recent history for not protecting and reporting child abuse. You are a part of the moral gatekeepers of Lake Havasu City and are sworn to watch over and protect all citizens. Certainly the children entrusted in your care deserve protection. You have a sworn obligation to do your duty. Child abuse is wrong. Abusive parents should be prosecuted and potentially jailed when found guilty of child abuse. Pastors should be prosecuted and potentially jailed when deemed guilty of child abuse or lack of its report. As mayor and city administrators, you have a civic and moral obligation to protect the citizens of Lake Havasu City, and the more so, the most vulnerable among us. If not, there should be prosecution and potential jail time when deemed guilty of child abuse, be it parent, clergy, civic leader, or other. Drag queen events may be a constitutional right, but there is a moral law that is even higher, and parents, grandparents, pastors, and city leaders must protect our children. In doing so, It is the city's position to consider and restrict any contract with Go Lake Havasu or any other entity. In doing so, the city's position must make it clear that sexual behavior and that affects innocent children and possibly considers sexually abusive to their eyes, mind, or body of a child. None of us should ever be so ignorant as to say, I had no idea it was wrong.
Thank you. That concludes citizens that signed up for call to the public. Would anyone else like to address the city during call to? Yeah, just please make your way to the podium and state your name for the record.
Hi, my name is Peggy Pollock. I live in Lake Havasu for 23 years. I came up with an idea that I would like to present. How about instead of having all of the energy going towards gay pride, why don't we as a community do something like have a pride and have picnics and 4th of July type celebrations where we have something planned for the kids, a boat parade, a patriotic boat parade, boats with real flags on them, going down the channel, foot races, softball. I've been to some of the best 4th of July celebrations ever, and we could take away the significance of gay pride by saying we're proud of Havasu and have another event planned. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address during call to the public? And again, if you are here for a particular item, we do encourage you to wait till that time.
Don Wisdom. Good evening, Council. I see a lot of talk about the parade they're going to have at the show. Something that starts Saturday. Anybody know what that is? Constitution Week. Gee, wouldn't that be nice if we celebrated the Constitution? I think that's a little bit more important than what everybody's talking about. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wisdom.
Tom Goodfellow, 874 Shalon Drive. First and most important, thank you for what you all do. I've done that role twice. It's not an easy job at all. So thank you all very much. I'm here to talk to you about, coincidentally, Lake Havasu City U.S. Constitution Week. What that is, in case those that don't know, in 1955, the Daughters of the American Revolution petitioned Congress to set aside some time annually, September 17th to the 23rd. So my group or my committee is bringing that to Lake Havasu for its first year. However, I know DAR has done some things in the past, but we're bringing that event for an entire week. And just if you were to, on your cell phone, if you were to type in 36 U.S. Code 108, you would find Constitution Week. Here's the guidelines. The President is requested to issue each year a proclamation designating September 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week and inviting the people of the United States to observe Constitution Week in schools, churches, and other suitable places with appropriate ceremonies and activities. So that's what we intend to do. Our web address is www.LakeHavasuCity US Constitution Week. I did this for 10 years in Colorado, and it ended up being the biggest event in the county and certainly the town too. It was pretty successful, so I'm hoping that it'll be a success here. We bring in constitutional scholars to get us started, and hopefully in the future we might have parades or those things. We don't political parties. We don't support political parties, either Democrats or Republicans. This is totally about the Constitution in America, and so I hope you come. And if you find one of our schedules, you'll see a QR code that will get you to our website. And, there's a whole lot more to tell you, but I think that probably gets it going. And I will say also that the business community has been very generous with donations to get this going. We're a 501c3, and this first year has just been phenomenal. So thank you all.
Yeah, thank you. Would anyone else like to address the council during call to the public? Just make your way to the podium and state your name for the record.
I'm not as tall as him. My name is Frankie Lyons, Veterans United Arizona. If you guys recall, last November, I brought to this city council an opportunity for you to stand for this community and bring it together with a dental fair clinic. The only one of you who stood up with this was Michelle and the gentleman from Dose who provided food for 300 people both days. It was a free event for this community. And for whatever reason you have with me, Cal, it's not fair for this city to miss out on something like that. We're going to try to bring it back here in 2024, and I'm hoping you guys have the integrity to step up.
Thank you. And for the record, I was there, Frankie, 2 days actually. So, yeah, thank you. Would somebody else like to speak during call to the public?
Yes.
Okay.
I would like to speak during the call to the public. Thank you very much for asking. I appreciate everybody coming to my meeting tonight. And man, you guys are all so kind and generous. Thank you for listening to me. And by the way, life is a great, precious gift. Please don't ever forget that part. Oh, wait a sec. I actually wrote myself notes so I'd remember. First of all, I want to make sure. Oh, sorry. Hi, Kelly. I'm Bonnie Toy, just in case. In case I forget who I am. First, I won't forget the fact that I would like to remind you to please look after the children. Summer vacation next year, consider lowering the rate. I never asked for it to be free. I asked for it to be a considerable, reasonable cost for parents to be able to send their multiples of children to the aquatic center every single day of the week that it's open, period. And at $5 a kid, if you have $5 a child, if you have 3 children, that's $15 a day. At 5-6 days a week, that becomes unsustainable. And having to pay some $200-300 for one child's little pass type thing, again, unsustainable for a family who can't afford it. And I'm just saying to please lower the cost during the summer vacations only for those kids. Next, I would like to remind you that you guys promised to consider lowering the tax rates for next season. Don't want to forget to remember to say that. Now, I do have a couple of other issues that I happen to notice with the city, and I hope that you guys can figure out how to address some of those. One, during the power outage that the city had, the portions of the city had no power for over 33 hours, and some of them had pets and they asked that they could not bring the pets to the only emergency shelter that was available for them to use and access during the time of the power outage. Next, you have a gentleman who's, you guys on your city Facebook page, is being requested to attempt to locate whether he's missing or not. Several people have asked on the Facebook page, hey, is this person still in need of medical assistance that you guys claim that he needs medical assistance for? And instead of one Facebook manager answering that question, not one person has ever answered that question to anybody on that post. So they are under the assumption that that man is either found and being who knows what, because apparently he was also the person who may have or may not have done school threats. So I have no idea if any of that's true. However, your Facebook page does not answer those questions.
Thank you for your comments, Bonnie. Would anyone else like to address the City Council to call the public? Please make your way to the podium and state your name for the record.
Robert Fisher. I'd like to suggest that the Go Lake Havasu add the agenda for Constitution Week to their page so that people can see it. It's not on there, and it's a really interesting event with some really interesting high-quality out-of-town speakers coming to it, as well as the barbecue on Saturday. So I would encourage the Go Lake Havasu to add that agenda to their page so people can find it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Greg Logan, local eccentric. I'd like to just see, it's true. I'd just like to amplify what Tom Goodfellow said about Constitution Week. It starts at 10 o'clock, 8 o'clock this Saturday at the library with a flag raising ceremony. A bell ringing ceremony. Well, you know, I told you I was eccentric. Anyway, that's what's going on. So start getting involved with the Constitution Week. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, would anyone else like to address the City Council during call to the public?
Ginger Lake Havasu. I just want to say they're trying to watch it online, and whoever your AV guy is, they don't seem to be getting it online.
Yeah, thank you for that feedback. Would anyone else like to address City Council during call to the public? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the, yeah. Again, if you're here for a particular item, we do encourage you to wait.
I'm going to talk on an item on the agenda in the future, but I did want to say how important it is to have Constitution Week. We've tried to teach our youth love of God and country over a number of years, and we're trying to reach them so that they can be not only good citizens, but that they can be the stars of their community. And so I'm hoping that people will come and hear these excellent guest speakers that Mr. and Mrs. Goodfellow have coordinated to have here. The admission's free except for a seminar. However, the benefit we can derive from it is worth $1 million. God bless you, and God bless America.
Thank you.
Hi guys, me again. Tricia Schnauze. I came this time, I'm going to stay for the other parts, but I just wanted to tell you that the person in charge of the drag show has sent me to read this to you because they're obviously out of state and just is hoping that, can clear something up. So he says, each entertainer signs a contract and knows the performance should be family friendly. They will be mindful of the language and music and will act accordingly, knowing it is all age event. No child is allowed in the venue without a guardian. Those families who are of the community who are LGBTQ plus children or simply want to expose their children to the art should be able to do so. They are the parents making the decision for the children, and what they do or don't do, not decide to do for their children should be the preview of that parent. If we care about children, let's also talk about the suicide rates. Too many children of the LGBTQ community commit suicide because of the messages that are being sent to them. People need to know that they are accepted and loved, and at this event, hopefully helps provide such space because we know that Havasu has enough events that are far more risque than this event will be. Go Lake Havasu does not fund this event. This event is funded strictly through ticket sales. Last year, we sold 330 purchased tickets, and we had to turn people away at the door. While some may not want this event, there are many who do. Lake Havasu is actually the leading sales of our tour and is already nearly sold out. The director of the Pride Tour is wondering if 2 shows are actually being needed because of the demand. Lake Havasu is over 50,000 people. 1 in 10 individuals are said to be LGBTQ+. And through the...
Yeah, please, we have to be respectful of all citizens.
Yes, please. It is true.
And through the research of that number, the rates are going up. Go Lake Havasu is about Havasu as a whole, and it supports its community, including the approximate 5,000 LGBTQ plus individuals within the city. They have a right to the events. They pay taxes just as much as the next person. And I'm here to tell you, this isn't him, that you aren't going to stop the event. I have 3 commercial buildings, and there will be a venue for this resort if London Bridge Resorts decides to pull out. After the protest and the picketing, I want you to know that ticket sales skyrocketed. So thank you, everybody, because promoting it has been great for us. I also have videos and pictures from last year's show that I took because I went to the event. If anyone is interested to be educated, you are more than welcome to come see me, and I'll give them to you. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, would anyone else like to speak a call to the public? All right, we'll go ahead and close the call to the public and come on to our next item, which is item 6, the consent agenda. Would any of the council members like to remove any of the items on consent for separate discussion? We are having a challenge with our electronic voting system, so we're going to do voice votes throughout this evening's meeting.
Mayor?
Yes, Councilmember Koch,
Motion.
please.
Move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Koch and a second from Councilmember Lane. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Am I going to call that out or either way?
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, we'll now move on to item 7, which is correspondence, communications, petitions, announcements, and the city manager report. Item 7.1 is announced vacancies on Lake Havasu City boards, committees, and commissions. Ms. Williams.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. There are a couple of vacancies on Lake Havasu City boards, committees, and commissions. The following is a listing of those vacancies. Board of Adjustment, 3 alternate members. For anyone interested, we have packets available at City Hall, and they are also available on the city's website at lhcaz.gov. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 7.2 is our investment report as of June 30th, 2022. Ms. Olson provided this in your packet. This is just for our records unless there are any questions. All right, moving on to item 7.3 is the fiscal year 2021-22 fourth quarter contracted agency reports. Chief Doyle provided this in the packet for our reference, and it is just to be filed for the record. And then item 7.4 is our city manager's report. Good evening, Mr. Knutson.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Well, that's loud. Start the report this evening recognizing excellence and from our high school students. Our Havasu Youth Advisory Council recently delivered school supplies collected from the inaugural Support Our Schools supply drive that was held last month in August. Youth members met with the team at the Lake Havasu Realtor Center, and everyone dispersed the items throughout the community and delivering supplies to all the schools. Every school benefited from this fundraiser. Special thanks from the Havasu Youth Advisory Council, which again is our high school students, our leaders. Would like to thank the mayor and council as well as city staff and the community for their donations to help support our school teachers and the schools. Mayor Sheehy, council members Dave Lane, Cameron Moses, Nancy Campbell, and Michelle Lynn, you all attended the Marine Corps League ceremony in honor of the 1-year anniversary of the loss of 13 U.S. service members and other victims killed in the terrorist attack on August 26th, just last year in Kabul, Afghanistan. To commemorate the anniversary, the London Bridge was illuminated red, white, and blue for that evening. Lake Havasu City Police Department Jail Supervisor John Elena received special recognition from Mayor Sheehy and Judge Kalali for his active involvement in the Veterans Treatment Court. John, who is a United States Marine Corps veteran, serves as the liaison between the courts and the police department to give back to the community and help our local veterans. As well, this recognition is well earned, and we thank you for your service, John. Mayor Sheehy proclaimed September 9th as Al Elroy Long Day in Lake Havasu City in honor of his 103rd birthday. He was also joined by Senator Sonny Borelli and the American Legion Post 70 to recognize his distinguished military service and 29 years of service to the American Legion. Mayor Sheehy and Vice Mayor Jim Dolan, you kicked off the annual Suicide Prevention Awareness Walk just last Saturday with a proclamation which proclaimed September as National Suicide Prevention Month. think they had over 150 participants at that walk. Mayor Shi proclaimed the week of September 17th through September 23rd as Constitution Week in honor of the document's 234th anniversary and presented the proclamation to the Daughters of the American Revolution. This proclamation urges all of our citizens to reaffirm the ideals the framers of the Constitution had in 1787 by vigilantly protecting the freedoms guaranteed to us through this guardian of liberties. And Mayor Shi, you ordered that the London Bridge be illuminated purple, signifying royalty to mourn the loss of Queen Elizabeth II. Over the past 50 years, the iconic London Bridge has stood as a symbol of the historic ties between Lake Havasu City and the City of London, and the pledge of continuing friendship between our two cities. Consequently, a letter was received in the mayor's office from the king by way of the British Consulate General of Los Angeles, thanking Lake Havasu City for the kind and thoughtful message on social media, paying tribute to Her Majesty, offering condolences to the people of the UK, as well as lighting the London Bridge purple. Mayor Sheehy and Councilmembers Nancy Campbell and Michelle Lynn, you attended the 9/11 ceremony just this last Sunday in honor of the 21st anniversary of the terrorist attack on U.S. soil and paid your respects to the nearly 3,000 people that died that day, and to celebrate our reclaimed unity that followed after that tremendous event. The bridge was lit red, white, and blue in their honor, and we remember and we will never forget. Mayor and Council, that concludes my report for this evening.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to our public hearings portion of our meeting. We'll start with item 8.1 is approve the cooperative purchase agreement of police department duty weapons from Force Law Enforcement. Captain Sterling.
Good evening, Council, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for having me. Tonight we are seeking Council's approval of a cooperative purchase agreement for department duty weapons from ProForce Law Enforcement utilizing an Arizona state contract. So the police department is currently utilizing the Sig Sauer P320 for patrol and the P365 for plainclothes assignments. And we're perfectly happy with the weapon system that we currently have. What we are seeking is to move to a newer version of this weapon platform, which will be outfitted with the red dot reflex optics instead of traditional iron sights. This optic emits a red dot that allows officers to have a more improved target focus in various lighting conditions. Optics allow shooters to be target focused versus sight focused. Being target focused allows for more accurate shots and a clear sense of the background or the backdrop that's important for allowing officers to make good use of force decisions. What agencies have witnessed with transitioning to optics is an increase in overall shooter performance, increase in shooter confidence, and the accuracy of rounds on target, which are all good things from a liability perspective. In addition to providing the new weapons, ProForce will provide us with a trade credit for the purchase of our current duty weapons. So ultimately, the cost breakdown is the new weapons will cost $78,353.61 with an offsetting trade credit of $27,003.21 for an ultimate net cost of $51,349.40. To go along with that, we recently sold at our surplus auction seized weapons, which we do on occasion. And in that case, we collected just over $82,000. So these proceeds will go towards the funding of this purchase. With that, I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Captain Sterling. Are there any questions of members of the council for the captain? All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this matter? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to council for discussion or possible motion.
Mr. Mayor, motion.
Yeah, Councilmember Lane.
I move to approve cooperative purchase agreement with ProForce Law Enforcement utilizing Arizona State Contract CTR 049168 for the purchase of duty weapons for the Lake Havasu City Police Department in the amount of $78,352.61 with an offsetting trade credit of $27,003.21. Authorize the city manager to execute the agreement and authorize city staff to exercise the option to renew for 2 additional 1-year terms for defense and law enforcement services, material, or equipment under contract.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Lane and a second from Councilmember Moses. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, we're ready to vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. All right, item 8.2 is approve the cooperative purchase with Exerplay Inc. for the removal and installation of the soft playground surface at Ramada B in Rotary Community Park. Mr. King.
Thank you, Mayor and Honorable Council. So the item in front of you tonight is to remove and replace the soft play surface at the Ramada B playground in Rotary Park. For those of you that might be unfamiliar with exactly where that playground is, it's in the middle of Rotary Park. It's the little kids' playground. The soft play surface was installed in 2011 and is beyond its life and is very potholed right now and needs to be repaired and replaced. The purchase price of $92,092.85 is in our budget this year to replace that surface. The surface around some of the other playgrounds, you'll see that we have rubber chips that's for fall protection. This surface provides that same fall protection, but also allows wheelchairs, strollers to be able to access the playground itself. So with that, we would look forward to your approval.
Thank you, Mr. King. Are there any questions of members of the council for Mr. Keene? All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this matter?
Sorry, it's just a really simple question, Bonnie Toy, just in case you need that too. How long will this new stuff last?
Yeah, great question. Mr. Keene?
We got 11 to 12 years out of this. We expect to get the same. The product is warranted for 5 years, but again, we do expect to get the same life expectancy out of it.
Yeah, thank you. Would anyone else like to address the council on this matter? Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing and bring it back to council for discussion or possible motion.
Mr. Mayor?
Go for it, Jim.
I'd like
Vice Mayor Dolan?
I'd like Cameron to make a motion.
Okay. Mayor, I move to approve cooperative purchase agreement with Exerplay Inc. for the removal and installation of the soft playground surface at Ramada B in Rotary Community Park in the amount of $92.85, and authorize the city manager to execute the agreement.
Second.
All right, we have a motion from Councilmember Moses, a second from Vice Mayor Dolan. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is item 8.3, discussion and presentation from Go Lake Havasu, the city's Convention and Visitors Bureau regarding the professional services agreement with Lake Havasu City. Mr. Knutson?
Yes. Yeah, thank you, Mayor and Council. Before I start with that, too, just a technical issue in terms of the our Granicus software program that runs the voting mechanism and the video on the website is down. But for those that want to pass along the word, it is available on Channel 4, and it's available at lhcaz.gov/TV. So just wanted to put that out there. We're working to correct that issue as soon as we can. Mayor, Councilmember Lynn and Councilmember Campbell, at your request, we've brought forward this agenda item for yours and for the council's consideration. And what you have in here is and the request was, for the contract between the city and Go Lake Havasu. That contract is in your packet, and I'll be available to answer any questions that you may have. I can provide a quick summary. This was an agreement that was entered into back in March of last year. It became effective in April 1st of last year, and it is a contract that's good for 3 years. It includes an annual sum of $1.6 million that goes to Go Lake Havasu on an annual basis. This is a professional services agreement, so those funds go to Go Lake Havasu, go to that entity, and in return, we expect and we are given professional services for the dollars that are provided. We've asked and some of those responsibilities that are included are to promote Lake Havasu City. That's pretty much first and foremost. To promote Lake Havasu City as a tourism destination and to drive traffic to Lake Havasu City. To serve as the primary contact for tourism and the promotion of Lake Havasu City. They've been designated as the main contact through the Arizona Office of Tourism. to designate and establish a visitor center that takes place here in Lake Havasu City and do a fine job with that with the leadership of Jan. There is a written quarterly report that comes to the city. We specify exactly what's supposed to be in that report, and that is delivered by Go Lake Havasu. That comes directly to my office, and then I pass that report on to all of the council. They are asked to collaborate with my office on policy development that's related to tourism, including activities, events, and other events in Lake Havasu City. Ask them to provide a seat on the board to the city manager. Provide an ex officio seat on the board to one of our council members. Provide the city with studies and reports that are commissioned. To seek alternate grant funds, so not a sole reliance on the city dollars, and perform special projects as assigned by the city council or by my office. And Terrence is here every year in the springtime to provide an annual presentation to the council and to the public about the things that the accomplishments for the previous years and some of the goals that have been set forth for the next 12 months. In addition to that, as you read through the contract, you'll see that there's some language in there that regarding fiscal responsibility and the need for them to adopt, for their board to adopt an annual budget and provide the accounting that's necessary to segregate the city taxpayer dollars that go to the organization. And as you flip through the pages too, some different requests and legal obligations for insurance, indemnification, non-appropriation of funds, conflicts of interest, and the termination clause is a 120-day written notice from Lake Havasu City. Some language for disputes and some other legal language that is needed to provide a executed agreement between the two entities and protect both parties, including the taxpayer dollars of Lake Havasu City. So with that, that's a very quick summary of the contract. I'm available for any questions, and I know Terrence Concannon, the president and CEO of Go Lake Havasu City, is here with a presentation and available for any questions that may arise.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Knudsen. Well, maybe let's segue over to Mr. Concannon to give us an update, and then we can ask questions of both Mr. Knudsen and Mr. Concannon at the same time.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to address the gentleman that mentioned putting Constitution Week on our absolutely. As soon as we can find out some more information, we'll put that up there immediately. Second of all, thank you so much for having me. I always love to come and talk about Go Lake Havasu to this board and to any board that has me or any group that has asked me to come visit. I do have, I'm going to address 15 things from the contract. I don't have 15 slides. I am keeping it very short for you. Am I pressing the right button?
Is it on?
There we go. Perfect.
Is your remote on? It should be green on the side.
Oh, it should.
The left side.
Left side. There we go. Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you. Okay. So I wanted to talk about, I'm going to go through 15 different parts of the contract. I think they're the most important parts of the contract, and I want to let you guys know how we are addressing those. I want to ensure that not only are we meeting the requirements of our contract, but in some ways we are exceeding them. So the first one is promote Lake Havasu City and serve as primary contact for tourism and promotion. To this, I will talk first that our current marketing budget is 53% of our annual budget, and we spend about $630,000 on marketing the city as a tourism destination. We feel that what we spend comes back to us in spades with the current tourism revenue. The bed tax is up 26% year over year and up 59% over 2017. The R&B tax, or restaurant and bar tax as we know it, is up 20% and up 32% over 2017. I want to talk a little bit about media management. That's a huge part of what we do. So our organization brings content creators into town. We work with content creators outside of town. And what we do is we create and bring wonderful stories about our city outside the city so people can know what an incredible city we have. in that, we have covered every continent except Antarctica with hundreds of positive articles every year, including for our London Bridge 50th anniversary. We worked with several journalists, several publications, and managed to get almost $14 million in ad value equivalency. And for those that aren't sure what that is, for every piece of editorial that we get, the column inches that represents the amount we would have to pay equivalent to an ad. So that's very, very important. Staff work weekly, as I said. We've had TV campaigns this particular year in 5 different markets in this country, including Las Vegas, Phoenix, Southern California, Northern California, and Chicago. So in the next one, Designate, establish and operate a visitor center. I think most people here have probably been to our visitor center, especially since we did about $135,000 worth of renovations 4 years ago. I want to let the council and everybody here in the gallery know that all the operations and the payroll of one of my staff members are not paid through any dollars of taxes. They are paid through merchandise sales in our visitor center. So again, not $1 of taxpayer money is used to operate that particular facility. There we go. So provide city manager with a written quarterly report. We do this. It's approximately 110 pages, 4 times a year. And in that report, we offer up the board agenda and minutes and financials that we have, that we bring forth every month. My monthly president's report, our annual budget, and any updates on grants. We also give you an indication of the sales and attendance of our visitors at our visitor center. We do a marketing and media report so that you know how we're getting the word out. We give an update on our community programs and how we maintain and fund events. Number 4, collaborate with city manager on events and promotions. This is one thing I'm very happy to say that we work very, very well, and we work diligently with the assistant city manager, Anthony Kozlowski, and I'm sorry that I misspelled your name, Anthony. But he works with us on several committees. He advises a city's position on lots of things we do. And as always, anytime the city or city manager needs anything from us, we are always happy to help and assist. As for updating and maintaining a user-friendly website, as you can, sorry about that. GoLakeHavasu.com is our visitor-facing website. It is also very useful to the residents of our city. Our users are up 46% year over year, and our new users, which is even more important, getting the word out to a bunch of new people, 44% year over year. We are the largest creator and aggregator of online content about Lake Havasu City and Mojave County, and we also own several other websites. GoHikeHavasu.com, HavasuSpringBreak.com, LondonBridgeTour.com. And we're working on something right now, trying to work the bugs out, but we have a new app coming, Lake Havasu Ales and Trails, which helps people, it's an interactive app, which promotes health and wellness by hiking on our trails, but also promotes a good time afterwards by enjoying some of our tap rooms and our brew pubs. Provide a voting seat for city manager and non-voting seat for a city council member. I'm happy to say that city manager Knudsen attends monthly, as does council member Dolan. And I'd like to put forth there that not only do they attend, but they are very committed. They are contribute to our efforts, and they are always there, always understanding what we do. And we are very happy to have them as part of our board. Provide city manager with studies or reports. So since this contract started last year, we have not commissioned any studies or reports, but I will say that before this contract, during COVID, I did commission 2 studies. One was a COVID recovery study, and one was a study to gauge interest in commercial air service to Lake Havasu City, both of which I provided to the city. Excuse me. Part of our contract says for us to seek grant funds. And as you can tell this year, we've been very, very successful with that. I wrote 2 grant proposals this year, one for a Visit Arizona Initiative marketing grant, which allowed us to spend $228,750 on our Emerging Markets campaign, and allowed us to get the word out farther out from the tri-state area about the wonderful city that we have here and the incredible destination that we have. I also wrote a very successful grant for the Visit Arizona Initiative Partnership Grant, which gives us $125,000 to begin funding holidays in Havasu. At the same time, right now, we are waiting on word for our Visit Arizona Initiative Outdoor Recreation Grant, in which we are applying to improve some community space for First Fridays. Under perform projects assigned by City Council, we have not, unless you consider this, we have not had any projects assigned to us, but we are always happy, and I will always appear in front of the City Council to assist on any tourism-related project. To present to City Council annually, my last update was March 6th of this year, and my update, as I understood, was received very, very favorably by Council. In terms of fiscal responsibility, while I have proposed deficit budgets the last 2 years, we have managed to make the necessary cuts to ensure a balanced budget. Before the funding cap and our current contract, I always kept our expenditures at least $100,000 below budget. Why? To save for larger projects or to do something innovative that we might not see now but might see a couple years in the future, and obviously to save for an economic downturn. Discrimination. The contract does not allow us to discriminate, and so Go Lake Havasu believes in inclusivity and promotes a community that is welcome to all, regardless of race, age, faith, politics, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, physical or neurodiversity challenge, language, or culture. Additionally, I do want the council to know that every member of Go Lake Havasu is a certified autism professional, travel professional, and that our visitor center and our offices are certified autism centers. So those that are traveling that are on the spectrum or their caregivers, we are able to recognize an issue and we can help. To that end, we do have a quiet space in our visitor center to assist with those kinds of problems. I always, as you guys know, I always talk about us as being storytellers, and we love to talk about the positive aspects of Lake Havasu City, of which there are so many. But so I thought I'd end with this. We love our city, and it shows. And this, to me, is one of my favorite examples of our amazing collaboration with our city. We are very proud of this award, and even prouder of the massive collaboration that it took to make this happen. The city, community, individuals, businesses, and organizations, and the Bureau that made this celebration legendary and this award so meaningful. So it's not us, it's the community, it's the city that makes this community great and makes this award so much a part of our hearts. So, City Council, that is my presentation, and of course I'm happy to take as many questions as you have.
Thank you, Mr. Concanon. So I'll open up to questions or comments from members of the council of either Mr. Knudsen or Mr. Concanon.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, Councilmember Lane?
So I have some information in front of me, but the entire council has had this before. So I have the Lake Havasu Convention and Visitor Bureau statement financial from May 31st, 2022. That's the most recent one. Is that correct, City Manager?
I believe that's the last financial statement that was put out.
So I'm looking at your budget, and I saw that you want a well-rounded budget. I guess that some questions that I have are, I'm looking at what all of your revenue is, your expenses, and I just want you to explain to me because I maybe don't understand it. So I'm looking under assets, and there's over $2 million in assets, and most of that's at Horizons Bank, U.S. Bank, Foothills Bank. And they're all money markets, and I'm just wondering if we're providing to you $1.6 million, why there's still over $2 million that's in these assets. That's, to me, I'm assuming that's cash, why that's there and why that's not being used, and why we're continually going to provide you with $1.6 million.
Well, we have had those reserves for quite some time. I don't believe we added any significant amount since this contract because we are working right down to the dollar, to the letter of the budget right now. Most of that reserve came before I came in. I am not the kind of person, I worked for higher education where if you didn't spend it, you didn't get it back. One of the reasons why I like to keep reserves is because there are times, and I do think that the COVID, the coronavirus pandemic helped us out with this. But I do pay attention to economic trends, and it was my understanding that we were going to get something along the lines of 2008, an economic downturn. In those periods of time, during an economic downturn, the last thing our organization needs to do is spend less to bring people into town. So that's something that we have as a backup in case our fortunes go down. Also, we had been saving for a project that we wanted to work on with the city in the downtown catalyst, which didn't come to fruition a couple of years ago. I was earmarking money for that particular project. Having said that, we do have that much money in reserves. So if the council would ever like to come to our board meetings and discuss ways that we might capitalize on the use of that money, I would certainly welcome that.
I just had a follow-up question because I remember a couple of years ago we had 1.6 million, and so now we're up to 2. And it's starting, it made me uncomfortable when I first saw it. The very first meeting I went to, I'm like, whoa, $1.6 million sitting there. And now it's grown to 2 just a couple of years later. When that much money, taxpayer money, that we designate to go to work for the city of Lake Havasu to promote our city is just sitting there, it makes me uncomfortable.
Okay.
I understand saving. I understand having some reserves. I think our last contract gave you a little bit of certainty because now it's not tied to a floating number. Mm-hmm. Now you know what you're getting, kind of deal, and it's in a contract, and that check will show up no matter what. Just take that from my overall feeling of that money and how much is sitting there. No, that being said, working towards a project, there's something creative we can do to push our city forward with that money. I would love to see it, and I'd love to team up with you on it.
Well, and just to respond to that, Councilmember Lynn and Moses, I have, not my staff, I won't put them into this, I have begun creating a list in May of possible things that we might do. One of our previous, the head of, chairman of my board, a couple of years ago, Mr. Don Callahan, we all know him. He was concerned, as you are, about the amount of reserves we have. And so when he was my board chair, we started talking about ways that we might do things in the city, maybe even brick and mortar type of things that can help the city, make the city a better place for residents, but also for tourists. When Don left, I've just been doing it on my own. So having said that, if you guys have any projects, and we talked about this it's part of my contract, I would love for any of you, if you have a great idea, it might be, I know that my staff member, Reagan Ross Robertson, has talked about the Downtown Main Street Association about an arch. So please bring these things to me. I do want to maintain reserves in our, as any good organization should do, but I'm also open to anything that will make this place a better place to live and a better place to visit.
If I may, if I can just give a little bit of follow-up to that point of question, and we'll turn it back over to Councilmember Lynn, is that don't forget that this council is the one that adopted this current budget. We know that those assets were increasing, and so we renegotiated the contract, so it wasn't a percentage of bed tax or restaurant and bar tax. And we knew it was a certain amount of what it would cost to do the program of work. So that is why we have this contract in place today. Was to address some of those concerns that we were having at the time. So those were the actions that we took. Councilmember Lynn?
I guess maybe our city manager can answer this. Not saying that this is the direction I'm looking at, I'm just have a question. If we did cut ties with the CVB in with the contract, that over $2 million, where does that go?
Mayor, Councilmember Lynn, we have a professional services agreement. Lake Havasu City, the city entity, we have a professional service agreement with Go Lake Havasu. They have their own separate board, their own separate accounting, and their own separate accountability, accountability measures and so forth that are there. Any funds that Go Lake Havasu has within their budget, within their accounts, the use of those funds is decided upon by their board.
So what you're saying is just say tonight, I'm just trying to paint a picture here, that we said we're going to cut the contract in 120 days. If they still have that $2 million, which is taxpayer money, and I'm going to give them credit for, I looked at their grants, that they received about $361,000 of grants. So I'll give them credit for that. But that money then, which is taxpayer money, they can take it, they can do whatever they want after those 120 days.
That's correct. So that the contract that was negotiated by council just about a year ago, again, as Councilmember Moses indicated, we looked at a static number rather than a percentage of the bed tax and the food and beverage tax, and that's the number that the city pays each and every year in return for the professional services that Gold Lake Havasu delivers. The city has other contracts in place with entities like Haven or the Partnership for Economic Development and other entities, Humane Society. We have contracts in place for based on services. With all of those agreements, with all those contracts, they're all managed by their own as a separate entity with their separate board. And once payment is made to that entity, those funds are then managed by their respective boards.
Can you remind us when their next installment is?
Payment is made per the contract on a monthly basis.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, Vice Mayor Dolan.
Just to bring a little perspective of that too, we're not outsourcing to a private company that those funds are theirs. I mean, it is a community event, it is a organization that was formed for this specific purpose. I guess my question would be, hypothetically, what happened if we ended our contract with Gold Lake Havasu? I'm assuming Gold Lake Havasu would then shut down because it would have no other use in Lake Havasu. It has no shareholders, it's ran by the board, which are all community members. So, I would see in that situation that the money would then go back to the community, or because it's not, if we were paying to XYZ Corporation to run our marketing company and they had all this money, we wouldn't be discussing their assets. We would just be, this is what we pay them every year to do this service. The fact that they have this money and it's set up the way it is, there is the transparency. We can see where it is. And I do like the fact that we are saving for a rainy day, because I think once we get to that point, if we were dealing with a private company, they could just, okay, we're done, and we're only spending the money you're giving us. So in a way, this is definitely Havasu's money, because like I said, I'm not a voting member on the board, but I know the community members out there in the community, they are the ones that get to make that decision. So it is a community, correct me if I'm wrong, it's a community, the CVB was put together for this specific purpose, and if we no longer negotiate with them, then it would cease to exist, because it's not like it's a marketing company that's going to go to Phoenix and market for Yuma or Tucson. It's a community marketing organization that was set up for that. So it still is community money. So,
City Manager Knutson and Vice Mayor Jim Dolan, it's my understanding in the contract that if you guys choose to disengage from Gold Lake Havasu, that our assets revert to the city. That's my understanding, but if I'm wrong, the city attorney can certainly tell me differently.
Mr. Mayor, can we have clarification, because we just got two different answers there?
Yes, yeah, let's, the contract is all in front of each one of us, so.
As far as the dollars reverting back, there's no language that I'm aware of in the contract that would do just that.
Mayor?
Yes, Councilmember Campbell?
I did speak with the board previously, and they said it wasn't based on a contract. It was based on the bylaws of the board that stated that. I did not see that with my own eyes, but I do remember that. Mr. Kincannon, do you remember that conversation as well? It's kind of part of the bylaws of the board, not so much the contract with you. If you can help me with that.
I'm sorry. I was reading something when you started.
Okay, basically, I was at a board meeting or spoke with the board at one time about the same concern a couple years ago, and they told me that it was under the bylaws of the board. It wasn't under our current contract.
You're absolutely correct.
And that I think it was one of our previous board members, citizens of the community, that also had the same concern and wanted whatever balance of that money to go back into Lake Havasu City reserves for the sole purpose of tourism. Again, I don't have it all right in front of me, but that's what I recall.
You're absolutely right. It's not in the contract with the city, but it is in our organizational bylaws. that if the city disengages, or I shouldn't put it that way, if the organization has no reason to exist any longer, then the monies that have been given to the organization by the city and its physical assets go back to the city. It's not in the contract again, let's clarify it. It's in the my organizational bylaws.
Mm-hmm. Does that answer your question, Councilmember Lynn?
Is there any way to put that in the contract?
In the future contract, certainly that can be direction that we give.
Be more than happy.
Are we doing discussion today?
We are discussing, yes.
So discussion can give possible direction, it says right in here. So we could give that possible direction tonight?
We could, yes.
Okay. I would like to see that.
Any other questions or comments for Mr. Concanon or Mr. Knudsen?
Mayor?
Yeah, Councilmember Campbell?
I do. So let's see, I'm gonna read off this so that I actually get across everybody's voice that I've heard. So, good evening, Mr. Concanon.
Good to see you.
This is my opinion, but also the opinion of many people that I've spoken to in this community. Now, I would like to play a recording really quickly. It's a very quick one. Let's hopefully all technical stuff will work.
Under the age of 18 can attend without being accompanied by a parent. So if people want to complain about this, it makes me sad because it makes me wonder what's going on in their own lives that they feel the need to channel this kind of hate and bigotry onto the airwaves and into email for us. So having said that, we are happy to have all kinds of events here in Havasu, and it's not up to the Tourism Bureau to make moral decisions.
So you state that it's not up to the Tourism Bureau to make moral decisions, and I'm not here to do this, but I'm going to just repeat what I've heard and how I want our relationship to move forward, but this is what I'm hoping will happen. Maybe it is time for the CVB to start making moral decisions for the sake of the city and how our tax dollars are spent. Marketing to two of the highest crime states, encouraging large events, which leaves our city a mess, overtaxing our services from fire, police, and parks, and leaving the citizens of Lake Havasu City to clean up after the party-like-you-mean-it crowd. We as a city need to unite more than ever, and going onto live radio speaking out about highly controversial topics, then calling the citizens of Lake Havasu City bigots is not what the taxpayers paid for. I believe it's time for us to look at a healthier way to promote our city. Overcapacity is not what we need. Morally questionable events is not what we want. What we need is a tourism which educates and promotes a healthy community where visitors are welcome to come without turning our city upside down. I was a big advocate of yours, Mr. Concanon, you know it. I believed excessive tourism is what our city wanted and needed. Congratulations, massive growth, but now it's time to look at a new direction. Will the CVB consider a new marketing strategy that will take these items into consideration? The citizens of Lake Havasu would like to hear from you in 30 days to see what you can come up with, including proper protocol for adding events to your site. You've already said some things about your app and how we can be better tourists and how we can be better at our short-term rental. We need your help. We don't want to get rid of you by all means. But I'm asking, the citizens are here asking, what are we doing? What are we paying? What's going on with our community? And I was really upset today when I heard that the constitutional event had come to you guys quite a while ago and also dropped off flyers, and yet their event's not on the page. I was disappointed to hear that Jeannie Kench, who has been working with you for quite a long time about our tax seminar, was not on your event and was told that we don't promote conventions. Well, I thought you were the Convention and Visitors Bureau. And I know for one thing, whenever I go onto your events and I want to show up, because I've used your website for decades, when I show up and I push the button, I get a bunch of options of hotels that I can, reserve. And then that brings revenues to us. So I'm not here to throw you under the bus or call the CVB horrible people. I just want to be the voice of this community that says, let's rein it back, let's take another look at it, and can we move forward?
And we do have an event protocol that is listed explicitly on our website. Jeannie Kench's tax conference is not a public event. And so we didn't list it on our website. I will say though that we spent $1,300 on swag for her event, and so we did do that much. And I apologize for the Constitution Week. I only found out about it from a flyer today in my office. I was not aware that it came to our office, but I'm more than happy to put it on the calendar. I think it's very important, and we're certainly more than happy to put it on the calendar.
Can I ask you again why you would, even if it's a private convention, people are still looking for hotels, restaurants, whichever. I would think that would be a great idea. I also know that we have a Freedom Barbecue, I think, this weekend as well. And I'm seeing it on lakehavasu.com websites. They've been all up to date on that. And I think that I would like to see a better protocol, like if somebody comes into your office and does XYZ, do they get a flyer that says, sorry, this is the reason why we don't do your events on ours? Or, because I know that people were confused. They said, why are we promoting, and I didn't even want to use the word, a drag show in February, but we're having Constitution Week next week? These are things that I would like to kind of unite us a little bit better.
Sure.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Kincaid, can you answer that question? How do events get listed?
Yes,
what
I
is
can.
that protocol?
I did print it out and bring it with me.
And Mr. Goodfellow, you're in the audience. Did you reach out to the CVB? Yes. How long ago?
Okay, Mr. Goodfellow's not on microphone. We're not in the public hearing
Okay,
yet.
sorry.
So, yes.
I just wanted to bring that up, that he has been reaching out to them.
Okay, he'll have that opportunity when we open the.
These are some of the questions we think about when an event comes. Will visitors be interested in attending? Remember, we love this community and we want to do things for the residents, but our website is visitor facing, so we have to think about tourists and visitors. So will visitors be interested in attending? Is it of interest to a wide audience? Is it open to the public? To answer your question about the private event like the tax conferences like that always send information about where to stay. They can still look to see where to stay on our website, but they won't find any information about the tax conference itself. Does it take place within Lake Havasu City, obviously? Does it possess unique cultural significance, i.e. art, history, health, sports, civics, etc.? Is it non-political? Is it a one-time event? Because if it's a weekly, monthly, or occurring over a long time, we add it to our local happenings page. Or we also have a link on our website to go to River Scene's community events page. Because if we listed every single community event, I'm not disregarding your barbecue, but all these massive events, then I don't think that our calendar of events would be as useful as it could be. So what we do is we do the events based on this criteria on our tourism-facing website, and then we partner with the River Scene calendar of events for the more community-oriented events, and we have a link to that on our page.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments from members of the council for Mr. Kincaid or Mr. Knudsen?
Can I ask just one quick question
Councilor
on your agreement with River Scene? Do they get paid to do that, or is that just a service they do?
No, it's just a service.
Just a service. And then I have I'm going to change this just a little bit, and I might need the help of the chiefs on this. So I think I talked to some people down at the chamber today, and I think you're doing a great job at promoting. We can see that with our revenues and our businesses and our restaurants and our hotels. We can see that. I think the question that I have for one of the chiefs, and I know Chief Doyle isn't here, maybe Chief Palafis can answer this question, is what does that look like on our public safety when these events, these busy weekends and these holidays, what does that look at the extra cost to put our guys and gals out on there? Could you answer that?
Mayor, Councilor Berlin, sure, I'd love to answer that if I can, because in terms of tourism in Lake Havasu City, right? We're very reliant as a tourism community. We have small businesses that rely on tourism in Lake Havasu City. And we rely on tourism dollars in terms of collections to pay for services like police, fire, and throughout the organization. But there's a cost that's associated with tourism. And so that there's a strain that gets placed on fire and on police and our public safety agencies, not just for the special events that occur throughout the year, but for our holiday weekends. So we have overtime that is a direct cost associated with that for fire and for police. We're talking about just in those two departments, so we're several $1 million. In addition to that, we're talking about parks and our parks maintenance and the ability to maintain our parks free from trash and of course all the maintenance that occurs throughout the city for that. You start thinking about costs that occur in the city attorney's office and through the courts. So we have some folks that come to Lake Havasu City that find their way then in the legal system, strain on the jails that can occur there as well. So there is a cost associated with all of that in terms of just special events and major holidays. Now let's also have a conversation about short-term rentals in Lake Havasu City and the response that's needed from Jill and admin services, and to be able to track and as we bring an ordinance, as City Attorney Gary will be bringing an ordinance before the council here in the next several weeks. For short-term rentals, we're going to be creating a permit process. We need all the local short-term rentals to be permitted. That's not cheap. That's a cost associated with that. We got no relief from the state legislature this year in terms of our ability to enforce some of the rules that are provided. I've had conversations with the city manager in Paradise Valley and with Scottsdale. And they're talking about having a five-person team out of their police department that's solely going to be used for. It's a little task force that's solely going to be used to enforce the registration and the permit process for short-term rentals. If they aren't permitted, the only way we know how to take a look at that situation and to enforce that they're not permitted is to show up on Friday at 5 o'clock and see if anybody's there. And that's what. And there's a task force that's being created for that. There's a strain on the city's resources and again, there's a benefit in terms of the tourism and the collections that are needed and the benefits to the residents. We get fantastic special events in Lake Havasu City, and that's a wonderful thing. But yeah, there's obviously two sides, and appreciate the opportunity to talk about the side that the team at Lake Havasu City and the staff that does a wonderful job in making sure that downtown Main Street looks pretty spectacular after a really busy Desert Storm event. Go down to the channel in Rotary Park after a very busy Memorial Day weekend. It looks pretty dang good, doesn't it? And that's thanks to our team in Parks and Public Works and throughout and police and fire and throughout the organization. So.
Thank you. And I think that's just why it's really hard for me to digest this over $2 million that they have an account that if to put that back into those services that are needed during those times. So that's just why it's hard for me to see when that money's sitting there and then we're over here as a city having to pay that offset on that. So that was kind of what this whole wraparound, a lot of this was questioning what our contract is, looking at the financials. So I just wanted to make that very clear that I'm watching that and it just concerns me. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Lane.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's almost like we could take my words from when we did the contract and bring them forward to tonight. First off, to Mr. Concannon and his staff, I think you guys do a great job on promoting.
Thank you.
I've always thought that. I've always thought that we were paying too much for it. And that was because we were given a certain percentage. So one of the things that I had pushed the city manager for was a flat contract. And part of that concern was the fact that your reserves, in my opinion, at that time were getting too high. They were, 1.5, 1.6 million at the time.
Right.
So I wanted a flat contract so that any of those excess funds would then come back to the city to be used for items such as the police, the fire, the parks, all the stuff I brought up at that meeting. And we did that. But now what we're seeing is that the reserves are still going up. So when it comes time to negotiate the contract, I think that's something that we'll have to look at. Maybe with that money, we are working on the Downtown Catalyst project. Maybe you could partner up with if we need additional funds for that. I have a question for you, and that is, if the citizens in the city are unhappy with an issue, do they call you and tell you that they don't like this or they don't like that?
I've received quite a bit of feedback in the last month or so.
In the last month or so?
Yeah.
Just because I don't want to talk about the one item, because we're here talking about the contract, not the...
But beyond that, Councilmember Lane, yes, if residents do reach out to us, they may stop in, they may call, they may usually email, but they do let us know if there's something we're doing that we should be doing better, or if there's something we're doing that they think we're doing very good.
Now, do you ever work with the event promoter to try to make it an advertisement that would be, I don't want to say user-friendly, but more open to the people?
We do reserve the right to make changes to,
Okay. 'Cause I know
not to make changes because it's their thing, but to suggest and to coach. Let's put it that way.
Okay. Yeah, and if you look at on your contract, I don't know if you have it with you or not, but on your contract on section 4, I'll bring it back up right here for just a quick second. And I think this is something that you could use when you're speaking with people and they're talking about their contracts. Under number 4A1, promote Lake Havasu City, our community, our vision, and our goals. So one of the things that we have heard with a particular incident, or I shouldn't say incident, but something that is going to be going on here in the city, if they would have just taken off under the age of 18, nobody would have a complaint. That's what I've heard is people wanting to say is, I don't care what you do as an adult, we just don't want the children to go there. For the promoter, that might be something that they could do working with Go Lake Havasu. And I'm not saying just this event, because that's not really what we're talking about, but you could use your contract with that verbiage right there about our vision and our goals to ask them to change those types of things. So not only are our tourists happy, not only are our event promoters happy, but our citizens are happy. And as a council, that's what we're looking at, is we want our citizens to feel that we are answering to their goals and what their visions are.
Yes, sir, Councilmember Lane. What I will do as regards to your comment is I have an executive committee meeting next week and a board of directors meeting the week following that, and I will bring this concern to them as well. Is there some place or some website that I can look up and find out do we have community goals and community visions that is out there that I can
It's on our
reference?
city website.
Okay,
Our city
perfect.
website has our vision and goals.
I'll print that out for every one of my staff members.
Okay. And I do think you guys are doing a good job. I never thought otherwise. I just thought we could pay you a little bit less to do the same job.
Right on.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions?
Some could say the same about you, David.
How much is less than zero?
On your executive board, is the ex officio council member included in that? Who's all on
The executive
board?
committee is myself, I'm the secretary, and then the board chairman, the vice chair, and the second vice chair.
I personally believe that it might be a good idea to have the council liaison on there with you as well.
Mr. Mayor, would it be okay if he told us the names of those people?
Oh, absolutely. The chairman of my board currently is the general manager of the Nautical Beachfront Resort. That's Alfredo Anguiano. The vice chair is Heather Petashevsky, who works for London Bridge Resort and Arizona State Lottery. And the second vice chair is Jen Wedden, who owns Grapes and Grains.
Are there any other questions or comments before we open the public hearing? All right. Thank you, Mr. Buchanan.
Thank you.
If you could stay close, because we may have questions that are going to come up. We'll now go ahead and open the public hearing. You don't have to sign up for the public hearing, but we did have some citizens do so, so we'll start with them first. Please remember, same rules apply before. We can have a two-way conversation now, which is fantastic. There is a light indicator box next to Ms. Williams, and just remember that you'll be addressing the council directly. The first speaker will be Karen Vanderjack.
Karen Vanderjack, 45-year taxpayer of Lake Havasu City. When funds are provided from our city to an organization that represents Lake Havasu City, there needs to be accountability. I'm not sure of the basis of Terrence Concana and how he was hired, but I know if I was going to put someone in charge of tourism and drawing people to our city to live, I wouldn't go to New York City. And I know he's not from New York City. It's just an example, okay? The values and lifestyles of people in New York is fast-paced and wouldn't mesh well with the laid-back, friendly city vibe of Lake Havasu. Yet Terrence seems to spend most of his time advertising in places like San Francisco and Chicago. Does he even understand who we are as a community? There's nothing wrong with alternate lifestyles, but why not advertise in Kansas City or Atlanta? They offer diversity, but values are more in line with Lake Havasu. Then there's the decision to welcome the Pride Tour, which includes the drag show, encouraging minors to attend. This is where accountability comes in. Perhaps the City Council should be overseeing how Mr. Concana is running this bureau with our city taxes being used. He has a board, which I understand includes Vice Mayor Dolan. That might be the perfect way to have that accountability. Terrence could report his plans to Go Lake Havasu Board, and Vice Mayor could be the liaison to the city. That's just an idea. In the meantime, we're now faced with the drag show opposed by 64% of the citizens, as reported by the survey reported in the Lake Havasu Herald. This show, degrading women with men in clown makeup and dressed as cheap prostitutes, is bad enough in itself, but encouraging minors to attend is unconscionable. Ask yourself this, not why did they invite children, but why is it the presence of children so important to these men dressed as cheap, sloppy women? The triangular pedo symbol is connected to their website, which is a signal to men looking for like-minded men attracted to children. These children to attend need to be with an adult. But what adult? Doesn't mean it's our parents. They're all sold out, so where are these children going to sit? Laps. Laps of who? They're encouraged to have small bills so the minors can touch these men to place money on their bodies. I don't need to attend one of these shows to know what they are like. They're all over the web, and I watch the children who look bewildered, awkward, and don't really want to participate with what they're seeing. Let's talk this out. Find a solution. At the very least, we need this to be removed from the Go Lake Havasu website and the calendar that Councilwoman Lynn had suggested as soon as possible. And for the safety reasons and to avoid the city possibly being sued, and God forbid a child being harmed, make this an adult-only venue. So I really don't need to communicate with you all, but I'm hoping I'm right, Jim, Mr. Vice Mayor, that you are on the board. And is there, I thought someone made that suggestion. I forgot who it was. Someone made it. Was it you, Councilman Lane? Someone made the suggestion of having a liaison, and I'm going, yay, that was my suggestion. Oh, thank you. Yes, Councilman Moses, good suggestion. So I'm just putting out some ideas. I'm just trying to work with you, and these are my suggestions.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, some of the target items some of the target cities, Karen, are done with AOT. So the Arizona Office of Tourism has target cities based on where air traffic comes from. And you might be surprised to know that Naperville, which is a suburb of Chicago, was one of the largest markets for Mr. McCulloch in his flights to get people to purchase land here back in the 70s. So we have to be careful when we're picking what cities and who and what they are, because we have co-ops with Arizona Office of Tourism that brings some additional dollars into what those marketing efforts look like. So I know sometimes it can be confusing, but there are marketing dollars, and Terrence, maybe you can speak to the dollars that are spent in Minneapolis and some of the other areas as well that reach some of those outlying communities based on seasonality of our market.
Sure, and another thing that we look at when we choose where to advertise, so we're always advertising in Phoenix and Las Vegas and Southern California because those are our largest drive markets. They'll always be our largest markets. But when we got a chance to get some additional funds from Arizona Office of Tourism, what we put together was we have a hierarchy of where attention is paid to us geographically. And so we always find Arizona, Southern Nevada, Southern California as the top three. But always bubbling under 4, 5, and 6, somewhere in there, were the two communities of San Francisco and Chicago. And so as long as we got these extra funds, and I wrote a proposal for this specifically, in emerging markets, we wanted to see if we could appeal to those particular markets. Now, I will say, I've been in the hospitality business for over 20 years. You never usually see this kind of response to advertising, but in our visitor center, we have had a huge influx of people from the San Francisco Bay Area who have said that they have come to this city to experience it for the first time because they saw those ads. So.
Yeah, and it's been several years since I've read the visitor study, but when I read it, I recall that our biggest competitive market is Lake Tahoe, and the citizens that go to Lake Tahoe are from the San Francisco Bay Area. So it would make sense that we would want to invest dollars in something along those lines, especially in the partnership with AOT that uses statisticians and others to pick and determine those markets. So thank you for that clarification. All right, the next speaker for this item is Cindy Johnson.
I wanted to first tell you all, it's been very educational tonight, and I appreciate all of your time spent on this, so we in the community can know what's going on. And we do appreciate your thoughts, your comments, your good intentions on doing what's best for the community. We really do. Thank you. I'm a little bit concerned about Mr. Concannon's remarks on the radio. This was really not good. Not good to do that. I would hope that that wouldn't happen anymore because it has nothing to do.
Cindy, we are addressing
I'm sorry,
the council.
I thought that this was about Mr. Concannon's.
But the opportunity for the public hearing is to address the council, so you certainly can share your remarks.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I thought since we were talking with him, my mistake.
Yeah, he'll be able to respond as well. But if,
my mistake. Yes. No problem. I'm sorry. I do want to say a little bit about everyone, the diversity and no discrimination about the Pride Tour. And I want to maybe educate you a little bit on what the gay community is saying about these. And this is something that I wanted you to be aware of. I don't know if you have heard of them before. It's an organization that just started in June of this year, and it's already up to 300,000 members of the gay community. This is what it says on their website. I wanted to share this with you so that you know our concern has nothing to do with our gay community. They're accepted like all the rest of our community. They have earned, no, I don't know if that's the right word. They've worked hard to get acceptance, and they have achieved that at this point. And they're just as much of our community as everybody else. Gays Against Groomers is a coalition of gay people who oppose the recent trend of indoctrinating, sexualizing, and medicalizing children under the guise of LGBTQIA+. Our community that once preached love and acceptance of others has been hijacked by radical activists who are now pushing extreme concepts onto society, specifically targeting children in recent years. The overwhelming majority of gay people are against what the community has transformed into, and we do not accept the political movement pushing their agenda in our name. Gays Against Groomers directly opposes the sexualization and indoctrination of children. This includes drag queen story hours, drag shows involving children, and transitioning and medicalization of minors, and gender theory being taught in the classrooms. The activists, backed by school boards, government, woke media, and corporations, have been speaking on our behalf for too long. When fighting for equality, our goal was to successfully integrate ourselves into society. But now these radicals aim to restructure it entirely in order to accommodate a fringe minority, as well as seek to indoctrinate children into their ideology. We're saying no. There are millions of gays within the community that want nothing to do with this alphabet religion and join the fight with parents and concerned people everywhere to protect children, who also aim to return sanity and reclaim the community we once called our own. The gay community is not a monolith. Those pushing this agenda do not represent or speak for us all, nor do we want to be associated with them in any way. What we are witnessing is mass-scale child abuse being perpetrated on an entire generation, and we will no longer sit by and watch it happen. It is going to take those of us from within the community to finally put an end to this insanity, and that's exactly what we're going to do. So this is the gay community speaking out about what the Pride tours have changed into. Maybe they once weren't these things. Shoot.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. If you just, are you wrapping up your thought or?
Just a few more, if I may.
Quickly.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So we're not fighting against the gay community. We're fighting with the gay community to make this right. And maybe nothing will change this year, but hopefully by next year, their voices will be heard. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. All right, the next speaker is Pastor Fred Bennett. Well, the good thing is we're not doing speeches tonight. We're just doing a two-way conversation. So yeah, if you want to share your comments.
Yeah. Well, as a pioneer of this town, like some of us, two kids walked across the bridge the day it opened up. We've been on several committees. Was on the committees that started the Tourism Bureau here in this town. 77, I think it was, in the Woods Building. And we did it to promote Havasu in a good light. A safe place for people to bring their families, raise their kids, feel safe on the streets. And the police department are doing a great job in breaking some of the drugs and stuff's going on in town. The community bands together and reports anything that goes on that's not right, which is the right thing to do. That's supporting each other. We've seen many acts of heroism over the years. But I know it's coming in here, there's some spots in the carpet over there. Now, unless you got the right person that knows what they're doing to clean up those spots, they'll grow. And it's just like sin in the city. If you don't take a stand and rebel against it, not so much rebel, but speak out against it, to keep that disease or that spot from spreading, it will overtake us. Let's not let that happen. As a pastor, chaplain, and a member of this community, I'm out to protect. Now I got great-grandchildren here. And I take them to school in the morning. So, thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Bennett, if you could just clarify, what disease are you thinking spreading?
Pardon?
What disease would be spreading? I might be missing.
Well, let's say the spots over here.
I got the carpet piece, but I think you were trying to make an analogy to disease.
Well,
spreading.
sin is a disease. It can be treated in a family, and they can grow up being good people, or they can foster it, and the kids grow up hateful and spread it. That's where your crime comes from.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, thank you for the clarification. All right, the next speaker is Diane Klostermeyer, which I believe she stepped out. I don't know if anyone gave her. Okay. So We are now open to anyone that would like to address the council on this subject. Just please make your way to the podium, state your name for the record.
Don Wisdom. My mind is burning right now. Would we not be enlightened to send brochures to federal parks and state parks? For example, we would send, when the people check into a national park or a state park, they would get a brochure about Lake Havasu, Bryce Canyon, for example. And the card would be about hiking in Lake Havasu. Here's the point. We would give them a credit card for $50. It can't be cashed, but for every merchant that honors that card, we would give the merchant back 50%, $5. We have $2 million to spend on customers. These are the kind of people I would like to see come to Lake Havasu. They're campers, they're water skiers, they're balloonists, all kinds of fun things instead of just sending a note to Chicago or to San Francisco. Forget them. Let's send it to the people who really want to come to Havasu and have fun and get a little money back. If they don't use the card, it's not used.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wisdom. Yeah, so the CVB does have a rack program that's all along all of the interstates within this area, and it does generate a lot of traffic. So the comments that I'm giving feedback on are just based on the comments I'm hearing from you as citizens. It's a very large marketing plan that's available on there. Is it available on the website? I know it's been provided to the council in the quarterly meetings, but
if anyone wants to come to our
if you just get to microphones for those at home.
If anyone wants to come to our office or our board meeting, we'll certainly provide that for you.
By the way, they are having a car show from Riverbound. I don't know if you know about that. They went and got special rates for the people who's coming to go to Riverbound and see where their money's sitting. I thought that was a great idea. But the idea that they'd actually, when they go into a park, they get a brochure about Lake Havasu, have some nice, beautiful pictures, and they get a credit card. Oh, but they have to use it. They can only use it 5 times. But we will get a report back of what, it's not a website. Not everybody goes to websites. I got a bad story about websites. But they would actually get something in their hand, they'd get a credit card in their hand, and then we could track it. We know exactly where they're coming from and the money we spent on them.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Would anyone else like to address the council during the call to the public? Yeah, just make your way to the podium. State your name for the record.
Jan Boyd, City Council, Mr. Concanon. Do you feel that you work for the citizens of Lake Havasu City? I am not a bigot, Mr. Concanon, as you have called citizens. As a concerned citizen, it is my duty to bring to attention to the citizens that Go Lake Havasu has involved itself with the AZ Pride Tour, a drag queen show that feels it needs to enlighten the residents and make us tolerable for our greater good. I have correspondences between Go Lake Havasu and the drag queen show stating it is for the citizens. Where's the tourism in that? The majority of the city's citizens requested that the drag show be removed on the Go Lake Havasu event calendar. Furthermore, we request that the children not attend. A male dance show, The Men Next Door, will be here October 6th and 26th at bars such as BJ's and Jeremy's Jukebox. It states 21 and older. Those are male dance shows coming to our city. 2 bars, 21 and older. This year they're coming. Why is it that when men dance as men, it's 21 and older and it's at bars? Where when men dress as women, it's children. It's children welcome. Ages 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Those children should not be attending the events such as a drag queen show. Seems like there's an agenda. If the majority protest in the city, we are called bigots. Out of your own mouth, Mr. Concannon, on live radio. You represent Lake Havasu City. Please explain how a drag show promotes tourism. Lake Havasu is known for its many outdoor events: boating, hiking, go fishing, golfing, good restaurants. We see red flags when tourism money is directed towards failing states with high crime rates, such as Chicago and San Francisco. We, the people, are concerned that Go Lake Havasu is taking our city in a morally defunct direction. We are now aware of that direction that Go Lake Havasu is heading, and we want a new direction with complete transparency. We, the people, want a say in how our taxpayer dollars are used for the betterment of our city. We want to see in-house items, things like cleaning the parks, maintaining the police and fire departments during tourist weeks, dredging the lakes, picking up tourist trash. We don't want to see the money sit in investment accounts, nor do we approve of big buildings being built for a small amount of staff. If the money is not used to better our city and keep it morally correct with moral correct events, keep it clean, keep it law enforcement here, we want the money returned to the people. We want their budget lowered. We want transparency. We want the direction of the Convention Visitors Bureau, Go Lake Havasu, changed and re-evaluated. We're seeing what's happening. We want the update on the taxes for 2021. We want to see quarterly postings, okay? I could not find their taxes for 2021 listed. Like here, where we meet as citizens, we get involved with the city. You hear us, we need to do that with Go Lake Havasu as citizens. The voters need to reevaluate the taxpayer dollar to CVB and how it is managed. You work for us. If there's no accountability, it's not acceptable. Right here, since I have a little more time, I do have the email where it says, to Go Lake Havasu, hello, thank you so much for reaching out and for performing here. We are excited for this event. The event is now on live calendar. Thank you so much again. And yet I think in the past they denied being in contact such as this. Then I have another one that says a correspondence between the Pride event. It says, they created a blog long after we left. Lake Havasu, the community, and some of its leaders are trying to keep the spirit of Pride alive in an area that highly needs it. They created a blog to celebrate Pride Month. While it may not seem all that important, this is a big deal for the community. Please be sure to look for it. And then they listed Go Lake Havasu's website. So their denial is they can't deny that anymore. All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. And many of the comments that you made, Ms. Boyd, is why we renegotiated the contract last year. So for those, the transparency, the money, lowering the budget, those types of things to bring certainty and transparency to the contract, the business side of it, is why that contract was renegotiated last year.
And Mayor Shee, can I also add that some of the things we've done, we provide programs for our community. We fund First Fridays, we fund the Farmers Market, we fund the Community Youth Market. Reagan Ross Robertson, who's here and administers all of these events. We joined forces with the Lake Havasu Hospitality Association and put together $60,000 and got donations from businesses and individuals back during COVID to form Havasu Helps Hospitality, which fed 8,535 of our furloughed hospitality employees and their family members. We worked with Partnership for Economic Development during COVID to develop the #OpenTogether program, which was a promotional program to let restaurants and their guests understand what can be expected of each other post-COVID. So we do very much, to the extent that we can and can afford it, provide services for the community.
Thank you.
Tom Goodfellow, 874 Shalon Drive. First, one thing to get clear, I wanted to make sure it was mentioned that the barbecue on Saturday has nothing to do with Constitution Week. So I thought I heard some people thinking that it was affiliated, and it is not. To address Councilman Campbell's questions or concerns, this is how I remember the events take place. And just taking any emotion out of it, this is just the facts as I remember them. So in March or April, I probably have the emails. I approached Go Lake Havasu, and the representative was fine. She directed me to the town events manager, and some of this is all new to me because I'm fairly new to the town. So she started educating me on what to do and how to get the event going, and great. I've worked with chambers before, and gave me names to help. And so that exchange happened for a while because at the time we were thinking about possibly having a parade, but it's kind of warm in September, and that was always a concern. So we ditched that idea and still conversing with her. And then probably, I want to say May, June, maybe, I had myself, my wife, and 2 other volunteers had a meeting in the room at the Go Lake Havasu with this representative, and we just discussed things. Fine, everything was fine. She told us, what to do, so there was nothing going on there. And she said, well, when you get to that point where, you're ready to squeeze the trigger or whatever, bring us the information, and we'll help you. We'll do anything we can to help you. So if memory serves, the week before Labor Day weekend, my wife and I dropped off an 11x17 schedule and a tabletop schedule, gave it to the lady. We went there to hopefully meet the person that we've been working with. She wasn't there. So I met the receptionist. We handed her those 2 documents. And I think a business card, because if I can't get a hold of them, I always try to leave a business card. We have business cards for Constitution Week. And the reply was, I'll have her call you. So that's kind of where it was left. And I, at that point, was pretty busy just trying to promote the event and spending all the time in businesses. So the next question you're going to ask me is probably, well, did you ever call her back the following week? The answer to that is no. I didn't even think about it because I'm just trying to promote the event. And we were just super busy. There was 4 of us out just trying to promote things. So that is my recollection of what happened. Okay?
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Dale Ray, longtime resident of Lake Havasu. Couple of questions. One is, or a statement first, we actually need Go Lake Havasu. We need a group that will promote tourism. And so I think that should be clear. What isn't clear, and Councilman Lynn began to address it, and that is who benefits at the end of, if there was a disillusionment of the dissolving of the organization, who benefits. And that absolutely must be clear. I've worked with organizations for my lifetime, and you'd be surprised what you'll end up in court over. And so that the city manager, the city attorney, you cannot just go on. Right now, we have an integral group. I've lived here long enough. I don't know the fact of it, but supposedly someone left with funds that were to have built a second bridge over our years, and it involved city council. And so even right now, every one of us can be of utmost integrity and yet let something go for a few years and run into someone who wasn't sitting here tonight. So please clarify that. The other thing is who admits the entries on the calendar, and apparently we don't have a review board beyond Go Lake Havasu. That's where the city council really should come into play. Through the years, I've used Go Lake Havasu, and I've also done events with the city, and the city has a procedure, an extensive procedure that we follow that seeks the approval of whether we can do it or whether we don't do it. And so I'm asking that there be a clarity on someone from the city council sitting on that board so that we know what is going on. The generic doesn't work, and so we need to be very specific. To that, I would like to ask the mayor and the city council to work with the city attorney, and that we would come up with an ordinance that would specify then that certain events that the minors would be protected and would not go to such events. And I realize I may be asking a lot, especially for this year, but I believe that we have ordinances that prevent indecent exposure. Those things are enforced every holiday here in Lake Havasu. Our judges and our courts are busy. Certainly we can be reasonable and come up with some kind of an ordinance that will do exactly what Councilwoman Campbell spoke and what the city wants, and that is protect the minors. If the city approves and on the calendar goes these events, consenting adults, that's not the problem with the citizenry. I certainly have my standards, but other people have their own. But when it comes to children, we are speaking up and speaking loud and clear. You have a responsibility. I have a responsibility. We all do. And we're speaking very strongly. Protect the children from such events.
Yeah, thank you. So, Dave, so what you described, Pastor Ray, on the event application process that you do is when you're having an event on city property. This is on private property. This is not permitted by the city in any respect. But just a clarification of what the separation of those two things are. Yes, sir.
Mayor and City Council, Ted Boyd. In regards to the drag show, I keep hearing from this particular group of entertainer that it's all about the art. If it's all about the art, why is it so important to have kids there? So that's my last statement on that, because it's pretty well covered by previous speakers. Also in regards to their budget. After hearing what Councilwoman Lynn said about the coffers that this particular group has around the city, I immediately came to mind to me, that money belongs to us. That's our money. Why is it sitting in their coffers making interest for them? I'd like to put forward to the board that they consider for their next budget, that they budget they pay them what they are budgeted for with a line item that says whatever's not used does not go into their coffers, it's returned to the city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Greg Logan. Hey, listen, I've been sitting here today, and I have two items. Call them food for thought for everybody. If any organization rents out city property in any way, they should be on Go Lake Havasu. If it's a proper venue, if the city approves a venue coming in and being on city property, it should go into the on the agenda. Second of all, and this is probably most important, on the advertising, all the way. Why are we advertising in so-called sanctuary cities? I mean, are we asking these sanctuary cities to bring their values into Lake Havasu? Just food for thought. Why are we doing that? That's stupid. Pardon my language.
Yeah.
That's it.
Thank you.
My name is Dan Koblosh. I'm the interim pastor at Havasu Alliance Church. We are instructed not to appropriate other cultures for fear of insulting them. Sports teams change their names. Faces are taken off butter boxes, instant rice, even pancake syrup. And imagine the very idea of someone, some outside agency, bringing in a blackface minstrel show to Lake Havasu. It would be met instantly with derision and censure. Yet an outside organization is bringing a drag show to Lake Havasu. We fear to offend anyone, but this is fine. No, it's better than that. It should be laudable and commendable to perform in what I call woman face. A woman named Alice Smith tweeted just 2 weeks ago, "Not only do drag queens present women in a gender stereotypical way, but as whores too. Could they insult women more if they tried? Why are we trying to defile women? These men, dressed as women, cast genuine women in the most hateful manner. Men and children encouraged to hand them dollar bills as they perform, or in many cities, read stories as ridiculous fake women to children in a public library. Some say, well, what about the channel? Should children be exposed to that? I say the debauchery and nationally famous sexual abandon of Lake Havasu City, especially in the channel, on the sandbar, and in Copper Canyon, ultimately being expressed with MTV having a multiple episode bacchanal on TV promoting the immorality of Lake Havasu City, has greatly lessened in recent years. Even during spring break, Lake Havasu is no longer an icon of immorality. We are clawing our way back to respectability. Meanwhile, San Francisco and Chicago have become the very definition of failed government and failed humanity, with out-of-control homelessness, drug abuse, shoplifting, auto break-ins, human feces in the streets, death, murder, and debauchery demeaning the once wonderful cities to all the world. Yet of all the cities in America, we are seeking people from those cities to party in Lake Havasu. Come and see our drag show. We're as out of control as you are. Do we really think our quality of life here in Lake Havasu will be lifted up by emulating San Francisco? We don't have to ask where this all leads. We already know. It's in the news right now. Amber Parker, an English teacher at the Franklin High School in El Paso, Texas, was caught on video commanding her students to refer to pedophiles as MAPs, or minor attracted persons, and even scolded one of her students not to judge people just because they want to have sex with a 5-year-old. Is this city council in favor of this pedophilia? Is this your direction for our city? Why are our children being targeted? Is our intent to groom and recruit impressionable children into this lifestyle? You may say, this is not up to the city council. It's some faceless bureaucracy doing this. I ask, did we, the people of Lake Havasu City, elect those contractors to reign over us, to call us bigots for resisting their private agenda? Who else do we appeal to except you, our elected representatives? You are inviting disaster upon us. Many of us moved to the tranquility and safety of Lake Havasu precisely to escape this kind of debauchery. City after city has failed morally. Please resist the temptation to emulate these failed cities. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Oh, okay. Hey, good evening. It's me, Bonnie Toy. Okay, I really wish I could address the people behind me to stop calling women who are not wearing appropriate clothing not women, because whether women are wearing appropriate clothing in their mind, they're still women, and they deserve respect, just for the record on that part. But I also don't like the word groomer, and I really dislike, I never thought about a drag queen show as appropriating my gender. That kind of actually does hurt a little bit, the whole thought of that. Anyway, actually the reason I wanted to come up was to discuss the Facebook page and the advertising of Go Lake Havasu. I don't understand why they are limiting their advertising to Chicago and San Francisco or wherever they're limited to. In case you didn't know this, Facebook is free and it reaches over 1 billion people in any city in the world. And all you need to do is you, as a person, go to your Facebook page, go to any city and say, hey, how you doing today? I live in Lake Havasu City. Look at this. This is what's going on this week in our city. And you know where some really good places to do that at? Other city news stations. So like, Washington, D.C., channel, whatever, go to their page. Say, wow, that looks like you guys are having fun. You could come here and have some fun kayaking on our lake. There are unlimited social media ways that really doesn't cost $2 million to advertise. And also, I would like to say that I am greatly disappointed to find out that they have $2 million and were telling you during the tax thing that, oh my gosh, if you changed your mind on your tax thing, then you were going to be taking money from the fire department. Probably should have been taking money from Go Lake Havasu, because it was only going to cost you under $1 million, and they have $2 million that they said they have to spare right now. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you for your comments.
Morgan Braden, city resident here for 8.5 years. First thing I want to address is interesting about all of this talk about the gay pride and the show. Did anybody read the article in Sunday's paper about Boise, Idaho had the exact same problem? And their city council stood up and said, no children can go. Maybe that's something you ought to think about. But main thing I wanted to say when I got up here first is I agree with Cameron and Michelle and Nancy over there, and I think David actually even said it. I think we're overpaying this organization, Go Lake Havasu, right now. If they have $2 million in reserve, and it's built up over the $1.6 million they had before, we're giving them way too much money. What I would recommend we do next time, and as soon as possible, cut their budget in half. Give that other half to our police, our fire, and our parks department so they can help maintain the problems that they are addressing that become up because of the major weekends and so forth we have. It's just a suggestion I would recommend. And last thing I would like to address is, number one, I heard the statement that over 64% of the people in town are against the drag queen show, and we're all bigots. Well, I'm sorry, I'm not a bigot. I have a granddaughter that is lesbian, and I love her dearly. In the ambulance service that I worked at, I worked with a lot of gay people. They are fantastic people. I never had a problem with them. I'm not a bigot. I would like to hear an apology for being called a bigot on the radio from the person that runs Go Lake Havasu. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. First of all, I'd like to apologize to Kelly for all the FOIAs that I've requested in the last month. I've had about 10 of them and almost 1,500 pages of FOIAs of stuff that the City Council has done with and to this community. One of the things I know, I sat here 2 or 3 times, several people on this council asked for a copy of expenditures from Go Lake Havasu for months. Did you ever get them? Did you ever get any of that?
Yeah, we receive it quarterly.
You do receive it. Then for almost 2 months in a row, you guys requested, but you haven't received it. Did you receive it or Jess receive it, or did everybody receive it?
Yeah, per the contract, it goes to Jess, and then Jess forwards it out to the entire council.
Okay, did you do that, Jess? Okay. So their statement for asking for a budget was incorrect, is what you're telling me. And one of the things that we had asked for them was for a constant budget of accountability. We don't want to get back to interagency. You know where that landed, because you guys didn't, not just specifically you, but city council did not make them accountable for 1 thin dime. And our community suffered greatly for that. It's up to you to keep a string on those little, those issues that we have with our city council. Jess, do you sit on any of the boards with Go Lake Havasu or the Visitors Bureau?
Mr. Mayor, Ms. Lyons, yes, for the contract.
Should have been. Do you sit on the board?
Should have been.
With Lake Havasu or Go?
Per the contract that was executed last year, at that time when the agreement was executed, that placed me on the board as the voting.
Okay, and you also wrote the contract. Is that not a conflict of interest?
How would that be a conflict of interest?
You're sitting on a voting board and you're sitting there as a city manager to write a contract for the city? I'm just asking, is that a conflict of interest?
So the process that's in place in terms of my role as a city manager is working very closely with the council as a whole and council as individuals, working with the executive team on the staff side and identifying the key components of an agreement that make the best sense for Lake Havasu City. We then take those thoughts and those concerns and those ideas on paper and then start the negotiations with the other entity, which is Go Lake Havasu. That occurred with the president of the board at the time and with Mr. Concannon. And that's a process that exists for contract negotiations.
Okay, so you were not a member of the board of Go Lake Havasu or Visitors Bureau?
Per the contract that was executed in March of last year, I am on the Go Lake Havasu board.
And you're a voting member of that board. That is a conflict of interest.
Yeah, so no, the contract was negotiated prior to the city manager position being the voting member. That was the direction of the council, and then we have an ex officio member of the council that acts as the liaison.
Okay, and who is the liaison for that?
Currently is Vice Mayor Dolan.
Okay, and during this period of time, I think you even asked for a budget report from them about 2 months ago. Is that true?
I don't remember asking a few months ago. I know we did the budget presentations and we redid the contract. I asked for some information.
And did you get that?
I'd have to check when we officially get it, but yeah, we get it quarterly.
Okay, but you didn't get it.
I'd have to look to see when I got what, but I mean, I'm happy with what I got.
Yeah, Ms. Lyons, where are you going with this? So,
where I'm going with it is either you are getting the budget or you're not. If you're not getting the budget, these guys are in breach of contract. He's in breach of contract because he didn't make them do it.
We do receive it. We receive the budget immediately the next day from Mr. Concannon directly via email, and then we get it quarterly updates.
Okay, because what I had requested was in a FOIA from, of course, Jess knows about it, Go Lake Havasu and the Visitors Bureau. And with everything that I got, it was 582 pages, which I went through today. And there's so much conflict of interest in there. Our people need to be represented by people who are going to actually do their job.
Mr. Mayor, if I can kind of clarify, my role on the Go Lake Havasu board is to represent the city's interests.
Yes.
And I want to make that perfectly clear. My role on there is to represent the city's interest. So thank you.
Hi.
Hi, good evening.
Patricia Schnowski. First of all, the constitutional event, I wanted to ask, will there be Democrats there too? I looked on the website and it just seems like it's mostly Republicans, and it is going to be?
It's a nonpartisan event.
Okay, yeah, because really all I saw was Republican sided, so I was kind of like wondering, make sure.
Yeah,
Is there going to be like history
Sir,
teachers?
folks in the gallery, this is a conversation we're having with council and the folks at the podium. We have to be respectful when folks come through. So it is a nonpartisan event as reported by Mr. Goodfellow, who's put on the event.
Okay, and then back to the drag thing, of course, which is why I'm here. I hear people making statements, and none of them are facts. I've been to the drag shows here. I'm affiliated with them. There was no kids there last year. There were over 16. These are ones that are, maybe, have the thoughts of being gay. No one's encouraging them. No one's going to be sitting on anybody's lap. There's no little kids there. The jokes there are less than pics are. Now, everybody wants to make their comments behind me, but I offered to show you, my video from last year. I am willing to answer any questions that anyone has, and no one's approached me. I think they just want to come on here and complain and make it about, they're trying to say like, it's not a gay issue, but you're basically saying all gay people or all drag people are pedophiles.
No, it's a conversation with council and the speaker.
And so that's what I kind of feel like they're saying it's not a gay issue, but you're grouping these people together and saying, oh, because they're drag queens, they're pedophiles. And that's not a fact. And so there is no little kids there. And if it's just like if a person, you're the parent, you're in charge of your child, and you go to see grandpa or Uncle Steve, you are responsible for that kid's life. Most kids get sexually abused by a family member, or Catholic churches, Boy Scouts, there's a whole thing. You're there, these people are there with their kid. And again, there's no little kids. They aren't pushing the agenda. I heard someone say there's a PDO logo that's on their website. None of this is true. And as far as
we're gonna have to close the public hearing if we can't have a conversation with the council and the speaker. So
as far as it being different than a strip club, it's like these people who are in a strip club, they're naked. They have a little G-string on. These people that are on the drag shows, they have layers and layers and layers of clothing. They aren't. There's nowhere, and there's no way. You don't put the money in their purse or anything. You throw it up on the stage. I just wish that you guys would educate yourself before you came in and made judgments. I'll buy you a ticket and you can come. I went last year and it was fun. It was just a lot of fun. No one's pushing kids to come. It just says on there that they can come because maybe you have a child who maybe needs acceptance, maybe needs to see that, it's okay to be different. It's okay. It's not just drag queens. It's pride people who are singing and entertaining. It's just, no one's making anybody go. I don't have to go to the bingo events that are going on, and they don't have to come to my drag things. It's a private event. It's just, they're trying to say it's a whole kid issue. It's not a kid issue. I know these people. It's not a kid issue. I've been there. It's not a pedophile issue. It's just, I just see all these things that they're making it about kids because they don't want to say it's about gays. And it's really, it's very clear to the rest of us that it's about gays. And they can say whatever they want to about it. It is about gays. And it's really sad to see that people aren't accepting of others. And these people aren't hurting anybody. And the ones she brought up where it said gays against groomers, yeah, there's 300,000 of them. I'm against groomers too. But there's 300,000 gay people who are against groomers. Maybe they're in this drag show. It's like, why are you saying that the people that are in this drag show aren't? It's just so hypocritical, back and forth, all this stuff. I'm gonna stop coming on here because I feel like I've offered as much as I can offer. I've offered to, educate these people, help them understand. They can come and talk to me, whatever they want. I'd appreciate if they talked to me when I was over there and not when I'm up here talking to you. That would be nice. But what else can I do? But no one wants to listen. They're all closed-minded and they only see things their own way. And I guarantee you that you have gay people in your families and you aren't aware of it because maybe they're afraid to come out to you because you are the way you are.
Yeah, thank you.
So a lot of assumptions there, which I hate to want to address all of them, but number one, this meeting could have been probably cut in half if we just took the kids out of it Has that been brought to their attention, Karen's, to take the no kids allowed on the advertisement?
Yeah. Terrence, can you answer that question for Mr. Diaz?
I've heard that Councilmember Lynn has asked for that. If that is actually the case, I would ask for Councilmember Lynn or somebody to come to our board of directors and make that request formally. The reason for that is we have never taken an event off our website, as far as I know, in the history of this organization. So in care of any possible legal challenge, I won't do it, but I will do it at the direction of my board. So if anyone feels strongly about that, come to our board meeting on September 28th and make that request of my board.
Thank you. And then the other thing, the woman back here earlier was talking about the gays against groomers. And so once again, the woman that was just up here saying that we're against gays, we're not against gays at all. It's about the kids. And the gays against groomers, what she read was on their website, and they put that on Facebook and Twitter and Facebook banned them and blocked them immediately because of that. Because they're against the drag queens reading in the library, the drag queens shows with the kids involved. And we were at our meeting this morning, we were adamant, Nancy was there, and a lot of people in this room were there. We were adamant that we're not bigots, we're not against gays, we're against having kids exposed to this type of stuff. That's all. Pretty simple.
Thank you.
My name is Deborah Feddock, and I am not a bigot, and I'm not against gay people, but I have looked at their website thoroughly, and I am not going to put anything on here that isn't on their website. They say that they are an adult-themed show. They say that they are serving alcohol. They give the names of their performers: Justin Deeperlove, Dirty X, Kamala Aslate, Charlie Angel, and Sandra Ecstasy. Do those sound family-friendly to you? So this family-friendly website is coming here, and they can bring children if they have a parent. They don't say that they're going to check to make sure that there is a parent. They just say that they have to have a parent. That person bringing them may not be their parent. Let's see, what else did I have here? They do allow tipping. Are the children allowed to give the tips? We don't know that, but it does allow tipping. And when you look at their flyer online, you see the gay pride flag, colors, not the flag, but the colors. But you also see the pedophile flag colors. And you might not even know that there is a pedophile flag, but there is. I will have to destroy my phone when we're done with this conversation because I've got way more information than I ever wanted to have on here. They also have, on a mobile device, when you're scrolling through, the pedophile logo is a hologram that comes up on your screen, which I have a picture of if anybody wants to see it. There are lots of events that are not for children. You can't take your child to an NC-17 movie. You can't take, as someone else said, you can't take them to a strip show. You can't take, there's lots of things that you can't do with your kids. You might want to, but the government says you can't. And in this situation, this is a show that by their very description is not child-friendly. Not. So are you guys going to stand up for our kids? You have the choice to stand up for our children. We can't do it without your help.
Some people have said that you can't legislate morality, but when you think about it, what is law? All law is morality canonized, all of it. Morality sees further than intellect. I didn't make that up. Somebody else smarter than me did. So I've got a comment with the organization of the Go Lake Havasu. He said they've been marketing on all the continents except Antarctica. I think he's missing a good bet there. I think everyone in Antarctica would like to come here. And so I think he should probably make an effort to expose those that are stuck there in the icy Antarctica to come here where it's nice and warm and sunny. As far as some of the crowds in the channel, I have young granddaughters, and we don't go down the channel when they're here on weekends. During the weeks, we go down the channel, but on the weekends, we generally avoid that because it's just a lot more exposure than we want our grandchildren, our granddaughters to get used to seeing as something that's acceptable. So the bridge has been here for over 50 years. A lot of people know about it all over the country. It's been publicized quite a bit. I don't think we really have a problem attracting people because, as you said, the place gets pretty crowded on holiday weekends and people coming here for vacation. We've got Airbnb rentals that are pretty busy and creating all kinds of other issues, but it's a popular place. So apparently they've done a job at promoting it because it's working. We're overrun with tourists. San Francisco and Chicago, the mayor of Chicago is a bigot. She's refused to allow white reporters to have interviews with her, and she's got the highest murder rate in the city in years. And so I don't know if you want to visit San Francisco. The place is a trash heap. You've seen videos on the news. Maybe people that live in that area would like to come here and get away from some of that, but we sure don't want to bring in their politics here because they don't seem to learn from the lessons of the district attorney that they've got there and their law enforcement allowing all this debauchery. People in San Francisco.
Yeah, Mr. Fisher, please keep your comments on how they impact Lake Havasu City.
I'm sorry, what?
Keep your comments on how they impact Lake Havasu City.
Well, if we have people from California come here and bring their politics here, we'll wind up with those drug problems here. We've already got some drug problems here. I've seen it in the paper. And we really don't need that for our children. So I like the low crime rate here. I like the safety that's here. And bringing some of that kind of stuff from Chicago and San Francisco doesn't seem like a good idea to me. So as far as the $2 million that are in the bank for the Go Lake Havasu, controlled by the bylaws, who can change the bylaws? Can those bylaws be changed by the Go Lake Havasu staff or in the board and then change to where that money goes? If the bylaws currently say that it comes back to the city, can those bylaws be changed and give somebody a pay raise and spend it somewhere else? I'd like to know who can change the bylaws.
Yeah, traditionally the bylaws can be changed by the board of directors of the organization, but maybe Mr. Concannon can speak specifically to how your bylaws are written on who can change those.
So yes, you're correct that our bylaws are created by our board of directors and they can be changed by our board of directors. My board of directors is made up of community leaders, business leaders in this community who have integrity and understand what it is that we do and the importance of the bylaws and, more importantly, the importance of the contract and our relationship with the city. Under no circumstances, and I will state this for the record, under no circumstances will that clause in our bylaws ever be removed, in that it says that whatever happens if our organization dissolves, we will never change that. And you have my word on that for the record.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, we've heard people's words before, but I would like to see it in writing somewhere that says that those bylaws would not be changed to reallocate that money someplace else. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, Vice Mayor.
Maybe we can also too, before we go in hypothetical modes in different ways, is, I think we need to look at those bylaws and find out exactly what the facts are before we assume one way or the other. If we do have concerns about it, that's something we should do our research prior to just forming a lynch mob and going after the Go Lake Havasu for something we think is there, but we don't know if it's there. So I think we definitely need, it's definitely a good point, and I think we should have looked into it prior to the meeting if it was a concern, instead of just bringing it out there as a gotcha thing. But if it's out there and it's in the bylaws, then it's there. If it's not, it's definitely something we need to work to fix to. But if it's a hypothetical, we just don't know the values of it, I think we just need to wait and find that out. And it sounds like definitely something we all agree on is we think it's there and I think it should be there. And if it's not, it's definitely something we're going to fix. But be careful going down that road of we should have done this, we should have done that. We don't even know for sure. We haven't, hasn't been presented yet.
And just to clarify, as a board member of Go Lake Havasu, both you and City Manager Knutson have those bylaws in your packet. But just to be on the safe side, next time we have a meeting, I will reissue it and make sure that every board member has a copy of our bylaws, just in case.
Thank you.
Hi, Ginger Dodier, Havasu City. For the $2 million, if it's in the bylaws and not tied to the contract, why do we have to wait till next spring to address it? I think that could be addressed right away for the $2 million. Additionally, because California shut down, Newsom actually was the blue chair, did Employee of the Month in December of 2021, and Newsom was it because we were slammed with Californians. Everyone knows that. Because California shut down, we were slammed here. Why couldn't we have cut back our budget to advertise when everyone here knows we couldn't even keep the people we had? If you go on the island, the Sam's Beach Comber, the Islander, and Crazy Horse never filled up in April. And in April of 2020, they were slammed. They were all filled up. Also, we only had a stop sign going over the bridge. And you guys know it was a temporary stop sign that was put up for Memorial, Labor, and 4th of July. Because of the 2020 pandemic, we now have a permanent stop sign there. So I don't understand why we spent so much money on advertising when we didn't need to. Additionally, going to the organizers of this drag show, or shall we say transvestite show, azprideshow.org. Those organizers, there's one gentleman that's a logistics guy. He put us on his Facebook when we were here 3 weeks ago, and he was making fun of us because we're old and that we don't get it and that we are rednecks. Or he didn't say the word rednecks. But I want to encourage you guys to go look. This gentleman, John, let me get his name. Christopher J. Hall. On their website, avprideshow.org, they truly have that pedo symbol. That pedo symbol in 2007, and I gave a couple of you guys copies of the article, and I also gave Chief Doyle a copy of the article. That pedo symbol in 2007, FBI identified it as a pedo symbol. And it is on their website only when you go through the mobile, not when you go to the actual computer. So talk about legality, if we take this off, what about the legal part of it being a pedo? And pedo, for anyone that doesn't know, is pedophilia. It's love of children. Love of children, you guys. And then so anyway, that's one thing. And then let me read you something. Unfortunately, I have to go stalk their Facebook. But Christopher J. Hall, just a couple of days ago, yesterday, he is the logistics guy at avprideshow.org, and he's also Mrs. Nature. And so a lot of his videos, if you go look at them, not at this drag show, but at other drag shows, it's just pornography. It's just absolute pornography. And remember, this is always about the children. Always. They will tell you, and they use that word, expose. They want to expose the children. We want to protect the children. We've all been at Halloween costumes when wives might dress like their husband or men's dress like their wives or whatever, and that's funny. But we're adults. We're not children that don't understand why these clown faces are mocking women. So anyway, real quick, let me wrap up with, and obviously prayers for Christopher J. Hall. He's the logistics guy. That's azprideshow.org. Okay, this is yesterday. Hello, friends, on his Facebook. I know someone in need of help. I have a friend who lives in Fredonia, Kansas, in quotes, small town, near Topeka and Wichita. Their 9-year-old son recently came out as gay. You guys, 9 years old, if that doesn't break your heart. This town is very small and was described to me as very rural and redneck. Mom has let their child know that she supports him and has asked that he not say anything at school as he is worried about being bullied. Freaking 9 years old, that's like third grader. Does anyone know of any resources in this area for parents and youth? And I'll see if there are local P flags for LGBT organizations in the area, but hoping someone may have some connections. P flag on Wikipedia is an organization for LGBT to help. But you guys, this kid's 9 years old. If you don't think that there's an agenda here, and this is the gentleman, again, that's AZ Pride Show that's putting this, that's the logistics guy. If you don't think there's an agenda here for our children, our babies, anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address the council during the public hearing?
Mayor, can I make one direction
Councilmember
to
Campbell.
our council? I've spoke with a city manager in regards to this. We get X amount of dollars from the resolution that we amended back in 1996, if I remember correctly, which increased our fundings to be used specifically for promoting tourism and for promoting the Partners of Economic Development. I am happy that we did reduce the contracts per your direction, Councilmember Lane, and City Manager Jess, reducing that, because I think the number would be pretty huge that we'd be giving both of these organizations. And it sounds like to me, nobody here really would like them to just be holding big reserves of this money. None of us feel that way. But I'm asked for direction from you, our city council, to literally make a line item in the budget showing exactly what we're getting from the 1% and the 2% and the 3% taxes per the resolution that we put in place, the amended. Below that, I want to make sure that we're documenting everything to be under tourism to show that, including the contracts for both of the organizations, plus every dollar we spend on tourism. Because in that resolution, if not many of you know, I'm very aware of it, and I know Councilmember Lynn is very aware of it. It says it's a misdemeanor if we don't allocate the money properly. So in front of all of us today, as direction, I would really like to have it very transparent how much money we get from this organization and exactly where the money goes to, because I don't want to go to jail over all this. Is anybody okay with that?
Yeah, so we'll come back to that's turning, making a left turn, and we still have citizens to hear from. Just a couple of things on that is one, Councilmember Lane did help drive this contract renewal with the assistance of the city manager's office, but it was this council that adopted it. So that's we all understood what the challenges were of this. When it comes to money that we're receiving from Go Lake Havasu, we don't receive money from Go Lake Havasu. We pay them a fee for service based on the contract. What we get are the sales tax that are generated from that. So I don't know if...
No, I totally understand what I was saying, and I think most people out here understood what I was saying. But again, I thought this was about contractual agreements with Go Lake Havasu. So I was kind of trying to bring it back to the topic of how we make sure that we allocate the money properly, that's very transparent, where the money goes to. And I believe that City Manager Jess mentioned that we spend millions of dollars on tourism in this community. And I just want it all to be totally transparent to everybody. I'd like to see a line item. So again, I'm aware that's tax dollars, and I am aware of the resolution, and I am aware of how much money we would have been giving to organizations under the direction of the city council. It was changed to reduce those contracts, leaving us a surplus of extra money that I absolutely want transparent and documented for every one of the citizens to make sure that we are not using the money in just the general fund. That's all I'm asking.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Pastor Zimmerman?
I thought maybe I was off the hook, but I'm not. I'm Kay Zimmerman, and something's been burning in me as I've been sitting here. And I'm a pastor in this city, but I'm not here representing my church. I'm not here representing being a citizen of the city since 1978. But I'm here representing the children, because I grew up with a pedophile father. It's the first time I've ever said that word out loud referring to him, but he was. He also was a very abusive alcoholic. And if he said I was going to one of these events, it would be, yes, sir. So I am saying these children could be dragged there not on their own will, but by someone who had ulterior motives to stimulate them. And so I didn't want to say that, but I had to say that we can't allow children in there. I'm sorry, we just can't. And I'm saying that on behalf of all of the children who have suffered that or would suffer that. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address? Yes.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask a quick question?
Yes, Councilmember Lynn.
To Terrence, do you have to, if you wanted to remove the family-friendly on the event, if you wanted to remove, do you have to go to your board to ask that, or can you yourself remove that? Just that
simply
phrase.
edit the listing itself and take the.
I'm not asking for the whole listing. I'm just trying to get a little piece here. Can you at least take off the child-friendly or family-friendly part? Are you allowed to do that yourself, or do you have to go to your board to ask to do that?
I would, with all due respect, Councilmember Lynn, I would again defer to my board just to be on this, on the safe side.
For one,
because we've never done it for any other event, and so I'm conscious that a precedent may be set, and that we may. I don't want to put this city, and I don't want to put my organization at legal risk. So I would respectfully ask that it goes through my board. My board is the body that oversees me and my staff and our efforts, and I think it would be better served if we went through my board.
so I thought I read somewhere in your contract that you can decide how an event is promoted. You can decide how that's promoted. So if that poster came there and it says family friendly, you can choose to take that family friendly part off.
Okay. Well, first of all, I don't see us as promoting an event, just like every other event in this city and a stakeholder business like London Bridge Resort. We are simply listing this event. We have given no money to this event. We have not given them any help. I think we talked to them once on the phone. I can talk with the organizer. We can talk with the organizer about that and see if there's a compromise. Other than that, I would be very hesitant to do that.
And how long has it been up on the calendar?
Since the day after the last one, so February.
And you've been hearing from the people, just take the family friendly, and we're waiting till now to have that conversation with the promoter.
We've only been hearing them for about a month, and I didn't hear about them from last.
Well, I've heard about it before a month.
And I don't believe when I read the listing, it doesn't say family friendly. It says all ages welcome. Is what I read. So I don't know. I'm not interpreting definitions. I'm just telling you what I read. So that was on the Go Lake Havasu listing. That's where I saw that, is that all ages welcome. Yeah. So.
Mayor?
Yeah, Councilmember Campbell?
Mr. Kincannon. We could be legally responsible too if we're not allowing a constitutional event to run, but we can do a drag show. We could probably dig in 1,000 different ways and find a reason why how the city and Go Lake Havasu could be sued on some level. And you've heard from Mr. Goodwill. Goodfellow, sorry, Goodfellow, that he tried several times to ask your help and you responded back, but this item is not on the event calendar, and that is literally next week.
Yes.
Some people in this room could claim that you were prejudiced based on your direction of why you would put one event on there and one not. I'm not saying that. But let's be crystal clear, we can't just protect one item and not another. And we've had a lot of voice in here tonight that are literally just asking a simple thing, just remove the kids. And I do agree in the contract that we have in front of us and the contract that you had, it literally stated, we read it out loud, I think you read it or somebody read it, that it said that you can make that direction. So I think personally, I can't speak for everybody else up here or my attorney, the city attorney, but I'm willing to take that risk.
Okay.
Yeah, sir.
Mr. Mayor, to City Council, there was a drag queen show 2 weeks ago last Sunday in Texas where Antifa showed up. And with uniforms, arms, long rifles, shields. We going to have Antifa here at the London Bridge Resort guarding this event like they did in Texas?
Sort of this first time hearing about this, so yeah, I don't know anything about that.
So Antifa is aligned with this drag queen show over there in Texas. I guess it's a national promotional event. So I would think that the Antifa is going to be coming over here to be their protectors. You did not know that they did that?
No, I did not.
Okay. Well, I think that that's a big concern here. If there was a 30 or 40 Antifa members all dressed in black looking like ISIS terrorists standing in front of the London Bridge Resort, I don't think that would be a very good look for our city. And I think it would be dangerous for everyone involved if that were to be allowed.
Thank you. All right, would anyone else like to address the council? All right, we'll go. Dan, I believe you already gave one opportunity.
One more thing. I was working the batting cages during COVID when the temperature was comfortable. And we shut down during the summer. And there was a period there where every single one of our ballparks across the entire city was maxed out with baseball games, all from California and Nevada, who had closed down their economies. I'm sure that the channel was full of boats. As I understand, Councilman Lane told us at one time that there was an attempt to close down the channel early on in the COVID. But so many people set up pop-ups on the beach that they were closer together than if they'd been on their boats. So we went back to the channel operating, and business actually, as Arizona, is a recent Arizona, we moved here in 2016-15, business actually hardly ever changed in the scheme of things. There was a few weeks where we kind of slowed down. But then all of it, I look back at the whole 2 years of COVID as being, I hardly changed my lifestyle at all. I was going out to dinner with friends. I was attending church. I was going to sporting events, whatever I needed to do. I mean, it was amazing. The people who came to Lake Havasu came here because we were free. It was that simple. And to this day, California is locked down and masked, and their health director controls 10 million people and their ability to go to the beach, to go into the water. And so people instinctively flocked here to Havasu because we were free, we were open. And this had nothing to do, I highly doubt,
Dan, if you could wrap it up. You already had your 5 minutes earlier, so please, if you could wrap up your comment. Yeah.
I'm just saying is that the Lake Havasu, I think, is a small part of the attraction of what Lake Havasu and Arizona in general is. People come here because, as we did, we evacuated California for the freedom of Arizona. And I think that that's a great thing to maintain and to promote. But it doesn't need promotion. People already know. The snowbirds come here by themselves. The balloonists come here by themselves. Everybody that comes here, the boaters, they know where it is. I don't think that they're reading some advertising somewhere in order to come to Lake Havasu.
Yeah, thank you. All right.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah, please.
Sam Scamardo, Mayor and Council. I could have belabored everything here and spoke for 20 minutes on what's going on right here, but I'm not going to. And I understand the position you're in because I sat right where Nancy was 20 years ago when we did that 1996 effort right there. My issue right here is with that, and I was a little bit unsure about this too, was the Mr. Concanon, he's essentially getting his pay from the city and from the taxpayers. So we're going to let an employee of the city of Lake Havasu City insult all of the voters and the citizens of Lake Havasu by calling us bigots. That's my main issue. The rest of the stuff, the one lady says that 1 in 10 people in this room are gay. I don't know. I don't believe that that's the figures that high. I'm sure there are some gay people in this room. I'm not one. So it's just that leaves another 9 people to go someplace else. I'm just a little bit irritated in the fact that Mr. Concanon makes the policy of himself for one issue, i.e. the Constitution Week, and doesn't make it for this this drag queen thing. It's the little kids all I'm worried about. I'm not worried about the adults. I think 1,000 people, as far as I'm concerned, they can come in as long as they're 21 or older. Because this thing is, regardless of what he says and what the defenders of the gay lifestyle say, this is recruiting, is exactly what it is. The whole thing is recruiting youngsters and kids to the gay lifestyle. If they want to become gay, let them later on, but we don't need a recruiting effort there. And as far as Antifa, I welcome them. I'd love to see Antifa come here and protest. Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess I'm on the same note as a couple of the last two that said what they said about Lake Havasu City.
Yeah, could you give us your name for the record?
What's that?
Your name for the record?
Margie Eckert.
Okay, thank you, Margie.
/Doran. I came over on a McCullough flight in 1967, and my husband and I thought this was a wonderful place to be, away from the big city and all the things that happen in a big city, and starting kind of like a new, fresh life. And it was wonderful. And then we moved over here in 78. And shortly after that, we opened a business, and we've been in business for a lot of years. We sold it not too long ago. But I just thought how wonderful for people to bring their children here and have that fresh new life like I did as an adult. And there's so many wonderful things for the children to do here. And we had the lake, and you can go kayaking or boating or whatever you want to do here. And you're away from the things that happen in big cities that are not good for our children. So we want that same feeling here in Lake Havasu City. We want our children to be brought up to know goodness. And we want our children to know that there's a creator here who created all of this. And so we just ask that we do wonderful things for our children and have so they can have a wholesome life here and not be subject to things that are not good for them. And so I think that that's the main thing that I feel, and I think there's a lot of us that feel that. So we need to ask our Creator and the one that's in charge, make this a wholesome place for all of our children and all of our people. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, would anyone else like to address the council during public hearing? All right, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing and bring it back to council for discussion and any follow-up or any possible direction.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, Vice Mayor Dolan?
As liaison, I'd like to say some points. There's also history in this room. We don't want to say it, but no one wants to be called a bigot. And I'm not defending what Terrence said, but the truth is, a year ago, there were people in this room. It had nothing to do with kids. Nothing. It was about them gays. We don't need this in our neighborhood. You can go back and you can watch the video from our Patriot group, and that's what it was all about. So, yes, I am very concerned about the kids, and I'm going to be talking with the police department. I'm going to be bring my concerns to the board. But let's call it what it is. There are people in this room right now that are bigots, and they were bigots last year, and they still are. So let's not walk around that. Okay, well, like I said, last year it had nothing to do with the kids. It had to do with the gays. So I am, okay, but do I not allowed to talk? Show a little bit of respect, please. Yes, like I said, I do have concerns. I'm also not a big fan of this whole gotcha thing where, the convention wasn't allowed to post it. Okay, well, he said it never was an official. There was a miscommunication there. I think it should definitely be put up there. I'm a sponsor of the event as well, and I'd like to see it on there. But to go at it and make it sound like it's a vindictive thing and it wasn't done right because, he even said it didn't happen that way. So that's another thing that I'm going to be bringing to the board that I would like to see fixed. I am concerned that, and you don't want me as a liaison being the person that makes that decision. I'm not going to decide what's allowed to happen and what's not going to happen based on my opinion or what I feel. You also don't want me censoring. There's people out there that are offended by the gun shows. Should we not have the gun shows because it offends people? No, our job is to abide by the Constitution and follow the laws. So my follow-up is going to be to our chief. What concerns do we have? If we're actually concerned about specific things that were brought up about pedophilia and different grooming, what is the police going to do about this event? Are they concerned about it? So those are things that I promise to take to the board, and you can record this. It's also recorded live on the TV channel anyway. So, but I think we need to stay within that topic, and that is my concern. Is like I said, it was painted as a totally different picture last year. So. Like I said, I think we definitely have some things that we need to look at. 2 hours and 2.5 hours just to present an event and have a bunch of opinions, which I think are great. But now our job is to sort through them and what can we do? There's people in this audience that are for small government. You don't want me getting in and regulating based on my opinion. We need to follow the law. So please just relax. We will follow up with what the law says. But like I said, as a liaison for the Go Lake Havasu, those are things I promise to bring to the board. So thank you.
Thank you. Any additional comments or thoughts from members of the council?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilmember Lynn?
So I kind of want to go back to the purpose of why I asked to have this on the agenda. I want to repeat, I did not bring this here so that it could be discussed about the drag queen. I'm glad we talked about it. Everybody got their opinions, thoughts on it. I have mine, everybody else has theirs, you have yours. But I want to talk about the professional service agreement that we have with Havasu City, with the Go Lake Havasu. And I would like to see the current budget because I don't think we saw it yet. I know you just finished it. I'm looking at your notes. Can we get the final budget?
Again, Jess Knudsen and Vice Mayor Dole do have the budget, but I will make sure that each one of you gets it when I return to the office.
And then I was wondering, when you're making this final budget, is it similar as when we make our final budget? Do you have your goals of what you're going into there? Would we be able to see that? Like as it comes back, I'd like to see what your goals are.
Well, I think one of the reasons why we have a city council liaison is Vice Mayor Dolan attends our meetings, goes through a budget process, which I start in January for completion at the end of July. And he brings those concerns and what we do and what we're looking at to the council. If you guys would like more than that, then bring it to Vice Mayor Dolan. And again, he can bring it to the board of directors, and he can direct me right now to put anything on the
Sorry, I don't mean to put
board
either one
agenda.
of you on the spot because I know both of you were the liaisons on that. So yeah, maybe because I'm not sure, maybe if they don't report it to us, then we're not going to know. And I don't want to have to go to ask them, whoever is holding that.
I did report. That was one of the goals I gave to Go Lake Havasu as well as the council, that I would be very vigilant about the direction that they were going.
Yeah.
And I gave updates monthly, maybe every other month, about stuff that we were working on and overall, direction of our marketing campaigns.
Yep. I don't want to question that.
And I'm not defensive.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure.
Also, Councilmember Lynn, if you ever want to attend, we would love to have you.
Okay. I just want to see what those goals are, what that looks like, how that fills in at the budget. And then I really want to go back to this discussion of the money that right now is in the coffers and what that looks like with the bylaws. I would like to leave here tonight knowing exactly what that looks like and where that money would go if there was a
if I may, Councilmember Lynn, I think your point's been made. I think that the bylaws have that in there. I think that we can give direction to Mr. Knudsen and Ms. Gary to come back with an amendment to our contract that has that language in there that we can have in a future council meeting to ensure that that's right. From the nods of the heads and the conversation of the council, I believe we have a consensus on that item. Would that suffice for your request?
Absolutely. I was just waiting for that. That's exactly what I was waiting for.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think we have that.
And Go Lake Havasu would welcome that.
Yeah, thank you. It seems like you already have based on your policies and your bylaws, so it doesn't seem like that would be an issue. So, okay. If I may, if Councilmember Koch has any thoughts?
Well, I've been quiet and not for the lack of interest. I just want to make very clear, because a lot of the people in the public probably are not aware of this, but my first 15 years in Lake Havasu City, I spent working in the same office as was then the CVB. I worked for the CVB for my first year that I lived in Lake Havasu, and then the next 14 years I worked for the Chamber of Commerce. So I'm very well versed on how they operate, their budget, and all of the things that go on in the office. So I don't have a lot of questions regarding a contract, because I've been involved and been around it for so many years. So please don't take my silence as the lack of interest in the topic. The topic that we were presented was the discussion and presentation regarding the professional services agreement, which that wasn't really the primary focus of the public comments, which is fine. I just didn't have a lot of comments on the contract because I'm well aware of it. So I just wanted to make that clear.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and there were some comments that were made throughout a variety of the statements about the funding and what that funding looks like. So there is an ordinance that came in 1996, but long before that, back in the 80s, there was the initial ordinance that started it was industry-led by hotels to want to find a way that we could have funding for tourism promotion. And so those hotels came to council and said that we'd like to impose a self-tax, basically, to create what that bureau is. It sounds like Mr. Bennett was a part of those early conversations on what that looked like. That created a 3% bed tax. The intent of those were for tourism promotion, and there's some other language because it's back in the 80s, so it had like bridge maintenance and a couple of other things that were in there. And then in 1996, there was a stronger effort based on increased demand and competition in the marketplace for additional revenues to be able to support Go Lake Havasu and what that, the tourism marketing efforts for our community, which happened to go through what is now Go Lake Havasu. So that was an additional 1% food and beverage tax. So the intent was the 3% bed tax and the 1% food and beverage tax when folks go to restaurants or banquet halls would go into a tourism and economic development fund, with 25% of the funds going to the Partnership for Economic Development and 75% of the funds going to tourism development by way of Go Lake Havasu. What Councilmember Lane and the rest of the council in our discussions over the last 2 years was, that was in perpetuity. I mean, it was a percentage based on the volume. So they at one point were rewarded by their success, which is fantastic. But then when is enough too much? And we noticed that the assets were large on the balance sheet. They were large initially, from my understanding at one point, was the instability of where the visitor center was located, and to have a fund to be able to build a permanent visitor center for the future, whatever that might have looked like.
Something we still wrestle with.
Yeah, so I don't know if that still was the goal, but that's where those dollars were. This council then came forward with a lot of the concerns that many of you brought forward when it comes to the operation component of that. And that's why we have a dollar certain amount for Go Lake Havasu and the PED for the professional services in which we are asking them to do for us. So there are other ways that we could do this. We could not do any tourism promotion, as one person suggested. That would, in my opinion, be a horrible disservice to our community. There are studies for every dollar invested in tourism promotion. The returns that we get are well above $8 or $9 in return on local and state sales taxes that help pay for the other services. So police, fire, parks, roads, all the same things that we enjoy today if we didn't do tourism promotion. So maybe the number is incorrect, and that's what we need to monitor and manage. We have another year and a half or so of this contract. We can do an addendum going forward, so we can just solidify contractually the obligation of, if something was to happen with the Bureau, where those monies on the assets would go, which would revert back to the city in some fashion. We'd have to leave that to our staff to be able to work through on what that looks like, and then bring back that addendum. But that's just some history of where the monies went, why you did that, and why we were doing tourism promotion. But some of the events that we have and enjoy in Lake Havasu City are at the direct results of Go Lake Havasu and the works that they do. So we cannot take for granted that we would just have balloon festivals and boat regattas and off-road fairs and all of those things because we wouldn't. There's a lot of competition that is out there. Tourism promotion is a very important component, and we're just talking about this one small asset, but we have thousands of people that work in this industry. This is the main lifeblood of our community is tourism, and it's very important that we continue to keep that as an economic driver. Now, the great benefit, if you're not one of the people that work in the industry, you certainly are impacted by it, by one of the great restaurants we have that you can choose from, all the great events that we have, the good roads. We have one of the best park systems, in my opinion, and a lot of good quality of life that comes from what tourism looks like. So I think this council has been focused and forward thinking on how to address this contract. Like I said, based on some of the feedback we've received because of these actions, we can take a look at it and monitor and see if that number is not the right number or if it's a different calculation. Or something along those lines. But to get back to the intent of what Councilmember Lynn said, her intent was for this item is the contract. So I think by consensus, we have that we'll come back with the amendment, however that can work. And we will continue to monitor the activities of the contract and how the professional services are delivered. And we will have an opportunity in about a year or so to start the negotiations for the renewal or direction of a contract and what that might look like for tourism promotion. Is that a good synopsis? And do I have support of the council to move in that direction on this item? Okay. So with the nod of everyone's head, I'll go ahead and move on to the next item on our agenda. Microphone, please. Yeah.
One more direction. The reason why we had 2.5 hours of this tonight is I believe of a kind of almost a code of conduct. I personally do not want any of my drivers calling our customers' names on radios or whichever. I really love to have elevated the professionalism a little bit. I have not called anybody a name in here. I don't have any intention to do that. And that's what I did want to bring was, is there a code of conduct or a code in our contract that maybe we should look a little bit closer at? Because I know that was a big majority of people in here really were offended by the radio. And that's what I heard over and over.
Yeah, so currently as the contract that's in front of us, that we all had the opportunity to either pass and adopt and then read, of course, before our meeting today, does not have a code of conduct listed specifically. If that's something that we can address in future contracts, certainly, that if find out what that looks like and what what focuses that is for us. We heard a lot of different feedback from a lot of different citizens, all very valuable and very important, but we have to do a lot of work. There was some emotion also brought into the conversation of facts on both sides of the argument that I don't know to be true or not to be true, but worth looking into, again, on both sides of the issue. But I do think that we can bring that forward for future contract discussions. Mm-hmm. All right. With that being said, we'll move on to the next item on our agenda. So it's item 8.4 is our next item. It's to approve a change order number 1 to construction contract for the Island Wastewater Treatment Plant Flow Equalization Basin Replacement Project with Technology Construction, LLC. Good evening, Mr. Hart. We'll give you a second to get set up there.
Thank you. It'll just take hopefully a second here. Oh, local disk. Well, we'll go this PC. City Council, right? There we go. Okay, well, Honorable Mayor and the City Council, it's an honor to be in front of you this evening, and I appreciate you waiting here for me to present this project. It's a very important project to us, one that we obviously are bringing before you and looking for direction. So this is our Island Wastewater Treatment Plant Flow Equalization Basin Replacement Project. This project, just as a little bit of background, is there at the Island Wastewater Treatment Plant. The FEB was what we use for an acronym. Everybody loves acronyms, so we throw that around too. That is our flow equalization basin, and it is located when you first come off of which actually McCulloch Boulevard, and come into the plant. It's there on the left. And it's something that we have been working to replace. The original FEB was constructed in 1983 and then modified in 1999 for odor control. The FEB was shut down due to various issues in 2011, and we were able to sustain operation during that time because flows were low and such to where we didn't need it, but we could see that we needed to move forward with replacing this very important piece to our treatment plant there. And this is the condition that it was in at the time when we were starting the project. The City Council awarded construction of the contract to replace the existing FEB to Technology Construction on July 13th, 2021, so quite a while ago. And that was for $4,109,001, which was nearly $1.2 million below the budgeted allotment and engineer's opinion of cost. And we talked about that at that time and went through why it was lower, and there actually were, I believe, 5 bids and 2 were comparable to this. And the city council moved to go ahead and award that project to them. Due to materials delays, some challenges there, we began construction in late November of 2021, and it was suspended late December due to field conditions that arose at that time that the contractor found. And if you were to go out there today, this is what you would see on site there. As a reminder, after that, we went to, I approached the City Council with a recommendation to amend the design contract with Carollo Engineers back on February 8th of 2022 for some design revisions. And I had told you at that time that I would be coming back with a change order, the result of that design revisions. There took several weeks for them to go ahead and complete the design changes, which ended up being on March 28th of 2022 with a package delivered to Technology Construction. Technology Construction provided original costs and documentations for proposed changes, cost escalations, and et cetera on May 24th, 2022. Now, I would like to say staff met with Technology Constructions. They sent a team over, including their president, back in the first part of January when we were had suspended the work, saying that they wanted to get out of the contract. They wanted to end it, which that is not what we wanted to do. And one of their reasons was the cost escalations that they were experiencing. And we shared with them at that point that if you're able to justify these cost escalations, we were able, the city in the past has worked with the contractor to help cover some of those costs. And I refer back to our tank N2A07 project where we had steel and aluminum costs that were increasing quite a bit, that we ended up negotiating with that and increasing for that very reason. The review of the borough's quote package was performed by Carollo Special Construction Group and city staff. So Carollo themselves have a group of contractors, current and former contractors, experts in the field, and could look at these numbers that were being presented. And it was quite a big package. There's a little exhibit A here of what we had to go through to get back to them. And so that review was completed on June 21st of 2022 with comments and questions sent back to Technology. So there were some things we looked at that we were questioning, some things that we wanted to address. And negotiations, as a result of that, they came back on July 5th with a cost reduction of nearly $124,000. But unfortunately, as you've probably seen the number on the council communication, the overall contract increase for the change order is $1 million and $53,000, I believe, somewhere in there. Which, if you were to look at the project as a whole, it's about a 25% increase in cost of construction, which is what we are seeing kind of as a standard right now on all of our projects that are coming in. So while it is a large number, it is something that is kind of a standard when we're looking at cost escalations and such. Wanted to talk about a few things. One is obviously the ADQ component of this, whereas when we originally went to submit plans to get the approval to construct. ADQ said, whoa, you don't have an FEB in place? And we said, well, no, we haven't had it since 2011, which there was a lot of discussion there, and obviously a lot of work had to be done to make ADQ happy so that we can move forward. And part of that was modifying our APP plan, which is our aquifer permit, aquifer protection permit, and flow equalization or plant closeout as well. They want to know that if things were to go bad and not related to the FEB, but down the road, that we have the money set aside to close it out. So it was a quite a long process we went through to finally get approval to construct, which we started construction. As part of this process, as we've been negotiating and waiting, when the contractor obviously is awarded a project, one of the first things they do is they go out to secure materials. And as materials were coming in, we will pay for materials on hand if they have truly been delivered and we see them. It's just more as we understand there's a cost for them to purchase them, and we can pay for that portion of that bid item. So we currently have roughly about $500,000 in materials on hand that are sitting there at the island. This first slide that I showed you here, that's our 30-inch piping that relates to the FEB, obviously coming from the Headworks building. We have in these boxes here, that is our mixers for their odor control. There's also some bridge, they call them bridge anchors for the mixers as they go out to support them over the FEB. And we have a lot of rebar and other material that is out there just waiting to be utilized. So that is another component of this project. And that would conclude my presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Hart. Are there any questions or comments from members of the council? Yeah, Councilmember Lane.
Almost got you. Yeah. Hi. So the original engineer's estimate was 1.2 million higher than what the bid actually came in?
That is correct. It was 5.3.
So even with this change order, we're still under what was originally the engineer's bid?
Yes, that's
or close to it.
That's very, very good point. So at 5.3 with the construction project coming in at 4.1, that left 1.2. This change order here is for just over 1 million. So we're still under budget. Fortunately, the money is there. It's you folks approved it in our new budget, so it's sitting there. Not that we want to spend it, but it is there.
And that's the point I wanted to get to is when we approved the original budget, you're still coming in under what the original budget was. It just sounds like we're making a big change order and we're having to move things around, but we're not using any contingency funds. There's no extra cost. This is actual money that we already had budgeted. It just, we were hoping to get away with not spending that 1.2, but it didn't happen. Thank you.
Yeah, Councilmember Coe.
I just wanted to clarify, and Jason, if you could, I'm pretty sure I have the answer straightforward. We could say no to this. We could go back to the drawing board, rebid the project. We take the chance of it coming in even higher, and more than likely, then if it's a new contractor not even utilizing the materials we've already purchased, we would already lose out on that on top of it, correct?
That is correct. You could deny this, and then we would have to terminate. Kelly would have to step in, and she's not really excited about hearing that idea, but would terminate the contract. We would have to go back to the consultant and repackage the bid package. So there'll be costs there. In our minds, we would want to utilize the material that's on hand because it's specialty items that you just can't use anywhere else. And that always is a touchy subject with contractors when they have to provide a warranty for stuff that they didn't buy, that's been sitting there and such. The idea of could we get a bid anywhere near the say the 5.3 that this might end up, or the 5.2 that's just going to total. I just the way the industry's going right now and the bids we're seeing coming in, I don't see how that's possible, but I'm don't have a magic ball either. I think it would be much higher.
And I agree with you. I just wanted to, for those out there that say, why did we just why are we entertaining the idea? Because I think the alternative would be much worse. So I just wanted to bring that up. Thank you.
Very good point.
Thank you. Councilmember Campbell?
Hi. Was there other contractors bidding this job originally?
There was, yes.
Okay, and I absolutely agree with you. Every job that I am touching is way above the 25% margin. From a door to a doorknob, it's unbelievable. So I agree with you. I don't know if it's good to go back through the process, but that would be up to legal as well. Is this something legally that we can do? If am I asking a good question? That if is there a protocol in place, and I'm sure you guys are all following it, for everybody out there that wants to hear that there was other contractors that bidded on this job. Going back and accepting a change order at this size, even though it's under budget, is that all okay?
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Excellent. Any other questions or comments from members of the council?
Yeah, at any time did the original engineer say, "I told you so"? No, I mean, I agree. We've got all that product sitting there. I think we need to move forward as soon as we can. It's unfortunate that it went down the way it did, but I think we need to move forward fast.
All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this matter?
Yes, actually. Hi, I'm Bonnie Todd. I would just like to suggest, and I'm really a little frustrated to hear you guys ask the question about whether or not is it more difficult if you do a change. You, in all honesty, you don't know if it's more difficult unless you actually do the change. And every time you guys are faced with these kind of situations, very frequently, you are, oh, we're not going to change anything because it may be more difficult. You don't know unless you actually try. Just want to say that because you guys keep hearing that from our city council over and over. Oh, it's going to take more time. It's going to, well, we were already taking time. So what happens if you take the time extra and it actually works into your benefit, but you didn't actually go ahead and take the extra time? So I was just curious as to why you don't ever want to take the extra time.
Yeah, you have thoroughly confused me. It's been a long night, but I am not really sure if I know what it is you are saying, but point well taken. Any other comments? Yes, please just make your way to the podium.
This may be a dumb question. Robert Fisher's again. Maybe a dumb question, but you've got material, and I couldn't really understand from the picture you showed what it was a picture of. And you mentioned rebar, and so that means concrete and so forth. If rebar's been laying out in the weather for weeks and weeks and weeks and getting rained on, it gets rusty and it's no longer usable. You have to do something else with it to make it usable. Is that product that's been laying there being protected for its utilization?
We are aware that we're going to have to take a hard look at the rebar and see if it needs sandblasted or see if it needs replaced. I mean, we have a standard, we have a spec that they have to meet, particularly when we are at this stage. So yes, we will be taking a hard look at the rebar. And from what I've seen, it's got some rust coated on it that could be sandblasted off. We'll take a deeper look at that. But the rebar itself is kind of a minor cost in this whole component. But
it could be a minor cost now to sandblast it, but if it wasn't, it'd be a major cost to repair the damage if it was installed in the concrete and failed.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Good point.
Yeah, thank you. Would anyone else like to address the council on this item? All right, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing, bring it back to council for discussion or possible motion.
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, Councilmember Lane.
I just wanted, we could start this whole process all over again, but as I'm reading the community impact, it's saying that this is crucial to continue the reliable service of treating wastewater. This is important. We have to do this now, correct? So pushing this on, this could cause a bigger problem for us, right?
Yes, it could.
And it could come back higher.
But I'm not talking about the cost part of it. I'm talking just in general, the project. If we don't do this now, it could cause bigger problems.
Yes, we have a process with ADEQ where we've committed to build this FEB and through the permit process. So it is needed.
Thank you.
Any other comments or?
Mayor?
Yeah, Councilmember Moses.
I move to approve change order number 1 to the construction contract for the Island Wastewater Treatment Plant FEB replacement project and technology construction LLC in the amount of $1,053,864.13.
Second.
Third. We have a motion from Councilmember Moses and a second from Councilmember Koch. Is there any further discussion? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hart. And our final public hearing item is 8.5, approve cooperative purchase of auto parts and services from CarQuest, DAB Auto Inc., DBA Jack's Auto Parts for annual expenditures exceeding $50,000. Good evening, Mr. Young.
Good evening, Mayor, ladies and gentlemen of the council. They say being last, man, that sucks, Bill, huh? No, after all this, mine looks easy. So I'm here to ask for approval to exceed $50,000 with in our cooperative purchase agreement with CarQuest, doing business as Jack's Auto Parts for aftermarket parts for our fleet and equipment services. So, be happy to answer any questions on that. Last year we did about 82,000, and we're currently almost at 20,000 with them right now. So,
yeah. Thank you, Mr. Young. And for those in the audience and watching at home, our code requires if we're going to spend from one vendor more than $50,000 in a budget year that we have to get approval from council. Jack's Auto Parts has been a provider of ours for many, many years, and provides critical parts for our fleet management. Are there any additional questions for Mr. Young?
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, Councilmember Lynn?
I'm assuming the reason is because of the inflation is why this has gone over. Is that part of it?
Every year it goes up a little bit, but with our aging fleet and now with the complications of getting new vehicles and stuff, it just continues as far as that. But yes, inflation is a great part of that currently.
Are there any other questions or comments before we open the public hearing? All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the City Council on this matter? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing, bring it back to council for discussion or possible motion.
Mayor?
Councilmember Koch?
Motion?
Please.
I move to approve the cooperative purchase agreement for aftermarket auto parts, supplies, and services from DAB Auto Inc., Lake Havasu CarQuest, DBA Jack's Auto Parts in excess of $50,000 annually utilizing Omnia Partners contract, authorize the city manager to sign the cooperative purchase agreement, and authorize the city staff to exercise the option to renew as provided for in the agreement.
Second, sorry.
All right, that was like a tie, I think. So Councilmember Koch made the motion, seconded by Councilmember Moses.
Yes,
Is there
please.
any additional conversation? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Young. Item 9, current events. Are there any council committee reports? I will make a quick report for the Mojave County Water Authority. We did have a meeting today, and one of the action items was talking about obviously water in the Southwest and on the system and what that looks like. We've all read the news reports and have had information about the poor condition of the flows, but one area that the board elected to move forward with was hiring a federal lobbyist so that when the conversations are happening at the federal level, which is good news that those are happening, that we do have a seat at that table. So I'll continue to keep you all posted on what happens and what occurs throughout that, but that's a win for us moving forward in those discussions. Are there any other council committee reports? All right, item 10, future meetings. Our next meeting is on Tuesday, September 27th, 2022 at 6 p.m. And then we will have another meeting on Tuesday, October 11th, 2022 at 6 p.m. Are there any future discussion items? Motion to adjourn? All right, we are adjourned. Thank you all for joining us. Be kind, and we'll see you next time. We are adjourned.